Inauguration Day! What's going on, everybody? Gold King, back. More Red Dead. Even more! There's so much of it! What's going on, Waylon Pacificus? How you doing? Good to see you. Make sure my audio's working. I see it. Well, hear it. I see it. No, I hear it. But anyway, hope you're all having yourselves a swell afternoon. And yes, Waylon's birthday was yesterday. I know that. I wished you a happy birthday. I have a bounty on me from yesterday. Oh no. Alright, where are we at? Where did we leave off? We got John Marston, the bridge to nowhere. Is that my next mission I have? No, it's the one that's closest to me. One sec. I have a little table next to me now, so it's easier to hold on to this. It's easier not to lose it. Let me see. It actually says my next mission is that one. And then we do Jean Marston and his mission. Yep. So we will head over to Rains Fall, Israel. What's going on? How you doing? How y'all doing? Just so you all know, Cannoli is not feeling especially well. So, unfortunately, we will not be doing MMM tonight, which we were going to cover the Boondock Saints, which, that would have been fun. So, would have been fun, but it's alright. When he announced that, I was like, that's okay, because, frankly, I am happy to use that time for something else, because I don't know if you all have noticed yet or saw on my live show section, I took down the Invader Zim stream that I had planned for tomorrow because, frankly, I have not had time to prepare for it. At least not enough time. And honestly, as I started to rewatch the episodes, I was thinking about how I would do like a presentation for that show, and I really haven't come up with a good idea for how I'm going to do that stream in particular. If I'm going to stream that at all, I might do a video at some point on that subject, but I'm not going to do an Invader Zim stream tomorrow. I have an idea of something I might do in its place. It could take a little bit of time to prepare. I'm going to try to make sure I do that tomorrow, or have that ready by tomorrow, but if for whatever reason I can't get a Gourd Tier Tuesday stream fully prepped, because this is very much changing it on the fly, I'll still stream this, but in all likelihood I should be able to get tomorrow's show prepped. I've already started doing it, and it'll be a fun one. But I'm not going to announce what it is until I'm sure it's prepared. It's one that I'm going to do, if not this week, then next week, so it'll definitely get done. I'll just say that much. But I want to make sure that I have it ready before I announce today or tomorrow. I'll be perfectly honest, prepping for a lot of streams, it's a lot of work. Especially when you have multiple tier streams that you're trying to do prep for. So, it's not easy. It's fun, but it's not always easy. I might do some simple review streams fairly soon.
I'm not. I think I'm dying.
And I hope you.
Yeah, and this smoke isn't helping.
I don't know too much about peace.
Apparently not.
Being a YouTuber sounds harder than it sounds.
The impetuous prince.
It's not easy. It's fun. I do love doing it, but it is very time consuming. I would say that. I don't necessarily like to apply the word hard all the time, at least if I'm thinking about it more literally. It's more just it consumes time. It consumes time. I know, like, okay, I've got this stream that I'm doing for funsies, this is easy enough to just start doing. The only time-consuming thing aside from playing this is, like, you know, the
Is the least obvious.
re-uploading it can take a little bit, but it's not really work.
I'm a great disappointment to my son.
Yes, thank you,
Your
Cannoli.
son seems to want a war.
My son thinks there is glory in
But
maybe he's right.
I've got this stream, tomorrow's stream. Again, I'm prepping for a Gore Tier Tuesday,
Being
which
handed
takes some
out so
time.
freely by the most
I've got a stream with over on Pops' channel on Thursday, which I still haven't watched the movie we're going to talk about, which that's fine. I didn't want to watch it until Wednesday anyway.
Maybe not, I don't know.
I've killed a lot of people. A whole lot of dumb reasons. I ain't never seen much glory in it.
And then
Your
I
friend
am
is
trying
he talks
to
about
prepare for a stream I've got over on Nadia's channel. We're going to be talking vampire movies, but I have a lot of work to do to prep for that. I have a lot of movies to watch
perhaps we could go
for
a
that
ride.
one. But,
I'm an old man.
yeah.
My whole life I have tried
Yeah, we
to
do
bring
have, yeah,
peace.
Cannoli, I prefaced this by talking about how we won't be doing MMM tonight, but I am looking forward to next week, because next week is my birthday pick. We are going to be talking In Bruges, which Cannoli hasn't watched yet. And In Bruges, In Bruges,
Captain
script-wise, is near perfect.
No, sir. I don't have the pleasure.
So,
It's an honor,
yeah, we
How can I
are...
help you, Captain?
I am stoked
just
to
in
talk
Saint
In
Denis.
Bruges, because that movie is
Spoke with the
so
mayor.
freaking
It's not
good.
good news, I'm afraid. May I ride with you for a little?
But anywho,
Of course.
Wayland Pacificus asks, has J.J. Abrams made anything good? Looking back, he seems like an industry plant.
Up in the mountains that's long.
Has he made anything objectively good? The closest thing I can think of
Captain Monroe.
is
As I mentioned, I did speak again with the mayor.
Mission Impossible 3.
Affairs in Saint Denis at length.
Like, Mission Impossible 3 has a lot of good to it.
The oil company has already received approval to move
Is it
forward
altogether good?
with nation's land.
Possibly. I like it. I definitely like it. Isawi, what's going on? How you doing?
I didn't get the impression anything would be happening for a few months.
Welcome, welcome.
I'm very sorry. I did everything I could.
I mean, I've seen a lot of it. I've seen, I think, all of his movies, or at least most of them. I think he had a really good idea with Lost. Like, I think this first season of Lost is really fun. And I
Sure, I can help.
That's good news.
I watched Lost all the way through twice. I don't hate Lost like some people do. I do think it's bad after about season 2. But I had fun watching it. I'll say this. If I rewatched it now, I don't know how I'd feel about it. Because I scrutinize things very strongly now. By the way, Asawi, you're not really late. I just started. You're not really late. So you are good. I started just a couple of minutes ago. Let's see, what are some of his other movies? Like I said, Mission Impossible 3. I do like Mission Impossible 3 quite a bit. I don't like the only Mission Impossible movie I have a hard time watching is 2. Though I haven't gone back and rewatched Dead Reckoning yet. Though I know I was more entertained watching Dead Reckoning than Mission Impossible 2. I'm genuinely not sure which one is worse, though. But that's not a J.J. Abrams movie anyway. It's just Mission Impossible in general. Yeah, Dead Reckoning is definitely bad. That much is obvious.
Go on, get out of here. Good. There was no need to harm them.
If they don't go away, there'd be a reason to harm them.
We can talk if you want, Mr. Morgan. But don't feel like
Hey,
you have to.
speed up, bloody horse.
Like you were saying,
Mission Impossible
It's a beautiful
is the section that I study
time to think.
math informative. Oh, this point, 2023. It's up there. I'd have to look up the movies from 23, but let me see.
how much you know about Dutch?
A little.
The game's kind of being glitchy right now.
For years. He was the best man I knew. But he's been
Here we go.
For some time now, and I ain't sure there's any.
But anyway, let's see what some other JJ movies. Super 8. Super 8 I don't really remember that well. I thought it was bland. I didn't care for it. I don't know if it's actually good or bad. I just remember being very indifferent towards it. I watched it and I was just like, well, that was a movie. I didn't get anything from it. I barely remember it. His 2 Star Trek movies are interesting because the first time I saw both of his Star Trek movies, and you have to keep something in mind, I'm not a Star Trek person. I'm going to give it a chance at some point. Yes, Asawi, we're talking movies. The first time I saw his first 2 Star Trek movies, I liked them. I thought they were fun. Then I saw the 2 original Star Trek movies, including Wrath of Khan. And those were significantly better movies. He only directed the first 2. He did Star Trek and he did Star Trek Into Darkness. I think James Wan or Justin something did 3. I don't know, what's the 4th one? Is there a 4th one? I don't recall there being a 4th one. I just know Beyond was terrible. I hated Star Trek Beyond, but that wasn't J.J. Abrams. But yeah, Star Trek Beyond is garbage. I hated that movie. I saw it for free. I saw it for free, and I wanted my money back. It was terrible. So what can we do? But I saw those first 2 JJ Star Trek movies. I thought they were fine. Thought they were pretty fun in a lot of respects. But then when I had some context from seeing the original 2 Star Trek movies, I thought those were infinitely superior. And then I rewatched JJ Star Trek movies and just tried to judge. And I didn't really try to judge them against other Star Trek movies. I really just tried to judge them on their own, and they did not hold up at all. Like, there's fun things about them. I think there are things J.J. Abrams does well, but he does snappy dialogue well. I think some of his action filmmaking is pretty solid, but he's not a good storyteller at all. He's actually a really terrible storyteller, and that undermines everything movie-wise. Obviously, I've seen Force Awakens. That falls apart under scrutiny. Rise of Skywalker is horrible. It's laughably bad. Yeah, I didn't think there was a 4th Star Trek movie of the reboot. I was pretty sure Beyond was the last one, and Beyond was garbage. Sawi says, I like Westerns, and I've seen the Dollars Trilogy. The Dollars Trilogy is awesome. I love the Dollars Trilogy. I am a Western fan myself. JJ also keeps telling basically the same story in different settings. Possibly. I'd have to look. I mean, I know he uses similar tropes in all of them. The mystery box. Which, talk about a stupid trope. The whole mystery box thing, I would say, was interesting to do once. I didn't hate it in Mission Impossible 3, the idea, because they at the very least address the fact, they kind of semi-address the fact that nobody really knows what the rabbit's foot is, or what exactly it does. They just kind of have a general notion of what it could do potentially, but no one knows for sure. So at the very least, the mystery box they acknowledge in a sense that it's a mystery box. And there are other things about Mission Impossible 3 that I think are pretty solid. The acting in particular is good. But, so in that sense, I think Mission Impossible 3 is, at the very least, it's entertaining. And I've rewatched that a couple of times, and I'm like, yeah, I like watching this. I mean, it doesn't hold a candle to, the first Mission Impossible, or Ghost Protocol, or Rogue Nation, and definitely not Fallout. But it's better than 2, and it's better than Dead Reckoning, at least. And I like the John Wick movies. Okay, my relationship with the John Wick movies is complicated. So, I think the first John Wick is awesome. That is a really, really good movie. Fantastic action movie. I enjoy watching John Wick 2 and 3, but they're bad. 2 is especially bad. John Wick 2 and 3 are messy as crap. And John Wick 4 is messy as well, and I don't even know if I enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed things about John Wick 4, but ultimately I was kind of bored. I thought it dragged on way too long. There's things they did in the John Wick sequels that I think really undermined what made the first one so great. I don't think any of the sequels touch the first John Wick movie. Like, John Wick 1 is just easily the best one. And I think the sequels, like all 3 of the sequels, I would call bad movies. But 2 of them, at the very least, I like watching. What's up, Admiral Teague? It's funny, we were just talking Star Trek movies. So that's fun. What did I think of the... Uh-oh. This is tragedy stuff.
They destroyed everything. I need to find the Chanupa. Who would do this?
Someone who wanted to enrage you.
Help me look around, please. The Chanupa is gone.
Alright, we gotta find the Chalupa.
A ceremonial pipe. There must be some clues to what happened here.
I think the John Wick thing is kind of just played out. I mean, it is at the very least... At the very least, I think you can use aspects of the trope in the works. I thought Nobody was really good, and I am looking forward to Nobody too. I hope that doesn't do what John Wick did and just go off the rails. Nobody was a lot of fun. Bob Odenkirk was shockingly good in that role. The ballerina marketing has been terrible so far. I'm gonna be honest, I've barely paid attention to it. I like Ana de Armas. I think she's gorgeous. She's undeniably smoking hot. I don't know if I give a crap about the idea itself, so we'll see. But I can't say I'm exactly looking forward to it. Yeah. The desert scenes in John Wick 3 were photographed nearby us in Morocco. That's cool. That's cool.
They couldn't have gotten too far.
Well, still no sign of the Chanupa.
The Chalupa.
Sure looks like they was doing
The Bills Ravens game. That was really fun. That was a fun game. I'm glad Buffalo won. I'm glad they won. And yes, and you're saying they're kind of going easy on Lamar. I told you they would. I told you they would. It's not hard to read the media after a little while. It's like, okay, the dude dropped the pass there at the end. That was really bad. That's the last thing that people saw. They'll be like, well, I thought you were a Lamar guy. I like Lamar, but I that doesn't mean I wouldn't have been mad if Buffalo had lost, but I more wanted Buffalo to win because I think Buffalo has a better chance of... I think he has a better chance of beating Kansas City, which I'm far more concerned with.
Oh, there they are. These brave men.
Lamar lost that game with mishandled snaps. He definitely should not be skirting blame. And I even think if you asked Lamar if he blamed himself, at least to a certain degree, he probably would agree with that. He did have 2 turnovers. He had a really bad interception. The fumble I forgive to a certain degree because, I don't think, and when I say forgive, I mean I don't think him fumbling is, choking or something like that. it's hard to hold on to the ball in like cold weather and snow. It's hard. It's a mistake still,
No, they've taken the
but I definitely think he deserves a good chunk of the blame. I think Harbaugh deserves part of the blame, and yes, Andrews deserves part of the blame. But once, but once people started saying, like, once I saw that Mark Andrews dropped that pass, the second that happened, and Israel can attest to this, I started saying, well, Andrews just both failed Lamar and bailed him out simultaneously. He failed because he dropped it, and that was a terrible drop. And he absolutely should be blamed for it.
No, I don't need your money.
I was like, he deserves blame for that drop, absolutely. That was a terrible drop. And, by the way, Lamar played a great second half. He was really good in the second half. That's undeniable. So,
Actions don't always go the way.
but when I said... But when Martin Andrews dropped the pass, I said, okay, that's a bailout for Lamar because it's the last thing that happened, basically, and that's what people are going to remember. They'll forget that Lamar made mistakes that put them in that position. They're going to forget that he cost them. They're just going to look at the Mark Andrews thing. They might remember that Harbaugh went for 2 in the third quarter, which, if you let Justin Tucker kick the extra point, then you don't have to go for 2 there at the end. And Mark Andrews doesn't have to drop or even try to catch that pass. So Harbaugh deserves blame too. They might remember that. Lamar is going to be, because he played a good second half, he's going to be seen as relatively blameless by the media. They're not going to focus on him. Even though his 2 turnovers were insanely costly. So, because, like, as I started to say it, Israel at first was like, hey, hang on, it's like, you know, he did this and this, and I'm like, no, I agree with you. He deserves blame, but that's not how it's going to be portrayed. It's like, it's not, he's good. I'm talking about the blame that people are going to get. Well, okay, but here's the thing, Teague. If you listen to what I think fans might scrutinize a little more honestly, but the way what I was talking about was the way the media is going to portray it is as though Lamar does not get much of the blame. Because he played a good second half, he's largely going to get forgiven. Which already that has started. I guess we'll kill him. Got him. What are you shooting, fools? Uh-oh. Like, here's the thing. Like, to me, it's like, I think choking is just one of those words we overuse. I think we overuse the word choking because we kind of overuse every word anymore. We overuse every concept these days. Because, okay, like, if you look at the AFC right now, you got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are dominating. Obviously, we know that. So, and nobody has really stopped them other than Brady. And Brady's gone right now, so isn't everybody a choker at this point? I mean, if you're going to apply the word choker to Lamar, you kind of have to apply that term to basically everybody if you're talking about losses. I mean, anybody who hasn't been able to stop Mahomes from getting to the Super Bowl, that would be Josh Allen, that'd be Lamar. I mean, it's pretty much everybody. Now, granted, Lamar, if you view him with some nuance, yes, he has had playoff games when he was first starting where he played very poorly. He has clearly gotten better. He's clearly played better. Like, I would not call his overall performance yesterday bad. Now, he deserves blame, but that's different than saying he choked. That's different. So, I don't really like to just flat out say, oh, well, he choked. I'm like, I think that's oversimplifying it. because this is a team sport. He's not the only one that you have to blame. Obviously, it's like the defense sure as heck wasn't stopping Buffalo. So, I mean, if you want to say, I mean, to me, it's like you could honestly say that maybe Baltimore's defense deserves the most blame. So they weren't exactly stopping the Bills. They weren't doing anything really to halt what they were doing. But we lay it all at the feet of the quarterback so often. But, and here's the thing. It's like, if you're looking at, like, did Lamar outplay Josh Allen? I mean, I can semi-understand why you'd say that, because, I mean, it's not like his stats were, like, mind-blowing or anything, talking of Josh Allen. But he also didn't make as many mistakes, so it's kind of a balance. It's like he did some things that were better. I mean, I think he was making some pretty awesome passes. He was doing some great stuff. But, I mean, I wouldn't say that he outplayed Allen, because it's like Allen managed the game correctly. He didn't have to. They didn't beat him with like gaudy stats, and they understood the conditions they were in. I think he played with a really good understanding of the type of game that they were playing. It was a very smartly managed football game by Josh Allen, I thought. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say he outplayed him. What up? Oh, I wanted it to set it like on fire. I wanted to like see that thing explode. That would have been awesome. Rains Fall. What kind of name is that? Do you guys give your kids? It's like Waylon said. Like the Native Americans, they would give names that would translate to stuff like that. It's very much a Native American thing. But no, you're more here the rest of us who are not native, that are of Euro descent or other descent, generally just have your typical English names and whatnot. They're called American Hordians, Gordon. You did Hordians twice. They're called Hordians of the Galaxy. I know you meant Guardians, but yes. And I know the joke too. Because Cleveland. Stupid Cleveland. See, I don't think Cleveland should have changed their name to the Guardians. I think they should have changed their mascot to like Gandhi. Replace Josh with Lamar last night in the media would kill Josh Allen for that loss. I don't know. I don't know if they would. I mean, if it depends. If you're saying if you replace them in the sense that if you replace the Ravens quarterback with Josh Allen, yes. If you're saying if Buffalo had lost, they'd kill him. If he played a similar game to Lamar and Buffalo lost, I don't think they would kill him for that. Because following what the media has been saying about Buffalo, there are a lot of people, at the very least, that do recognize that that Allen doesn't have near the talent around him this year that Lamar does. And by the way, to your previous point, Israel, about like Lamar's, if you're looking at his playoff play in totality, I agree with you. In totality, so far, he has not been a great playoff quarterback. But a lot of his negative stats came from his early performances. His performances have gotten increasingly better. I don't think he was bad yesterday. I thought he played a solid overall game, but he did make key mistakes that helped to cost him that game. Have you guys watched Django Unchained? Many times. Saw it in the theater several times, and seen it many times since. I'm quite fond of Django Unchained. I find that very entertaining, and that's a very well-written film. I like it. It's a good movie. It's really funny. I watched it with my brothers. They watched it for the first time at my place about a year or so ago, and they had a really good time with it. I know the part with the bags was
Will stop a bit of that.
that part really made them laugh.
Maybe I can calm my
I was angry the Rams lost. They literally should have beaten Philly. Their defense was in control. Yeah, that was a touchy one.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll say this: I'm not mad
Those herbs
like
I gave you, please.
that Philly won,
Most of all.
because to me it's like if you want Kansas City to lose, you should hope for all the best teams to win right now. And the sad reality of it is that Philly's the best team in the NFC right now. I mean, if Kansas City makes it to the Super Bowl, you better hope Philadelphia is there to stop them, because they were the only team in the NFC that really has a shot at beating them. Detroit would have had sort of a shot because of their offense, but they're so decimated defensively that like them losing to Washington did not surprise me. Which I told you all that. It's like I'm picking Detroit, but don't be surprised by Washington if they win.
I'd love to help him. Or at least stop Dutch.
Detroit's injuries just caught up to them.
Real stupid.
But I don't think the Rams would have stood much of a chance against Kansas City. I really don't. Have you guys watched the...
Long time, boy.
This downfall for Detroit was so embarrassing. Goff was underwhelming, and Dan Campbell made it worse. Yeah, but again, I think a lot of that was just their defense was beat up. I think if their defense had been healthy, they would have been far better off, but it's just how it goes. It's how it goes. Have you seen The Magnificent Seven? No, I have not seen either version of it, funny enough. Although, the movie it's based on, the Seven Samurai, I have seen that a couple of times, and it's one of the greatest movies ever made. It's a 1950s samurai film by Akira Kurosawa, and I highly recommend it. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. I have to commend Jaden Daniels. He's playing like a veteran and is the greatest rookie ever. I don't know about that. I don't know about no greatest rookie ever. He's a really good one. But I don't necessarily think he looks like the greatest rookie ever or anything. I think he looks like a really, really good one. He's one of the best rookies ever. I think in our era of inflated statistics and whatnot, I think, yeah, I wouldn't go so far as that. Now, if he like somehow like goes all the way and wins the Super Bowl, then I'm like, okay, maybe he is the greatest rookie ever, because that would be amazing. I'll say this: I didn't realize it had been as long as it had since they had been to the NFC Championship game, because that was 1991. That was the year I started watching football. Like that year they made it they were the first team I saw win the Super Bowl. So yeah, that was I didn't realize it was that. I was like, oh cool. All right, let's talk to this here feller.
Hamish.
Arthur! Come in.
Are we gonna fish again?
You said, we could go for a hunt.
I did. There's
Have you
this
guys watched
huge
310 to
sheep
Yuma?
stalking me the last
Oh,
few nights I've been out, but
I assume you're talking about the 2007 version with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale.
let's talk a while.
That, as far as I'm concerned, is the best Western of the 21st century. I adore 310 to Yuma. What's up, White Bear? Whitey! I think Philly was very fortunate the weather helped them out. Stafford was pretty great yesterday. Stafford, I'll say this, Stafford, since joining LA more and more, has
So thick.
raised my estimation of
Cross
him.
the whole field without your boots touching mud.
Stafford's pretty dang good.
Those were bad times.
Yes, they were.
Stafford's playing better at his age. Like, Stafford's, granted, he's not as old as Aaron Rodgers yet, I guess, but you could argue that I'm curious about doing a comparison between Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford, since they both have one Super Bowl.
That close.
She's acting brazen. Come on.
But Isawi, I absolutely adore 310 to Yuma. I think that movie is just
Come
Oh, amazing. I love that film. Stafford is a lock for the Hall of Fame, but gosh, he's freaking good. I mean, he's going. I do think he is going to make the Hall of Fame. I think it is a lock at this point. Whether or not you think he's a lock as far as deserving the Hall of Fame, I would agree with you there. I think the standards have lowered too much, but he is going to make the Hall. He's going to make it. I think there's zero doubt he'll make the Hall of Fame. And at the very least, he's made that reality easier to digest, because he's really good. He's really good, and he's endured a lot in the years since winning the Super Bowl that has raised my estimation of him. And by the way, me saying I'd like to do a comparison of him and Rodgers is not me saying I think he's better than Rodgers overall. I don't. I definitely don't think he's better than Rodgers, but he has certainly had a better later stage of his career than Rodgers has. Yeah, the Rams definitely won that trade. I mean, Detroit's done fine with it. Well, I don't even know if I'd go... I mean, I don't know about if I'd say, like, one over the other, because, I mean, Detroit has significantly improved themselves since then.
That was their dinner.
Have you guys watched Suicide Squad 2016? Yes, it's awful. It's a horrifically bad movie. That movie is garbage. I don't know what you think of it, but I absolutely hate that movie. The later movie, The Suicide Squad, was a little bit better, but The Suicide Squad was horrible. I think it's kind of good. I think you like it, and that's fine. You can like it. It's fine that you can like it. It's not good, though. I assure you, it's not good. Okay? It's not good. It's horribly written. It is objectively terrible. It's okay that you like it. But good it is not. Megatron with a guy like McVeigh. Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, you can play the what if game with a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of always the interesting thing when you're thinking about careers is guys have to play the hand they're dealt at the end of the day, and not everybody gets equal footing when they enter the league.
Tracker, now you want to take the lead, or shall I? Come on, you want to track this animal, or should I?
If you don't mind, I'd like to.
Okay, get tracking. I'll be close behind.
Refs definitely saved Kansas City a little bit. Houston stood no chance. Yeah, they were never going to let Houston win that game. I guess I'm not really taking it. Jeanette, how you doing?
We heading down here?
Good to see you. Pleased to see you here. Always enjoy the presence of a lady. As far as what you've missed, well, you know, I think we did a little bit of hunting.
Well, I'm fine with losing chickens, but I lost a leg already, and I gotta pull down my pants.
The winds are back. Oh no.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that.
Up there. Is that the she-wolf?
Oh dear. Ooh.
We walked into something here.
It's a ambush of wolves. Oh no. Yeah, I thought Houston played a relatively solid game overall. Not even solid. I mean, they played good enough to win, truth be told. They're the first team to outplay a team to the degree they did and still lose, which is kind of where I'm like, it's hard for me to not look sideways at the officials for that one. They missed about 10 pretty big calls again that should have all gone against Kansas City.
Over here! Over here!
Oh my goodness. That's a big flippin' wolf. Oh no. Let's do it again.
Whoa, you all right? I was ready to offer my complete and unconditional.
Yeah, I don't think the wolves would have shown much mercy.
I do hope, Janet, with you being in California, I hope the wildfires haven't hit you or anything. I mean, I know it's not the whole state. I don't know how close or far you are to those. Wolves tend to be huge. Yeah, this one's huge, and take that E off. They hug. It's a huggy wolf. I was like, why is it not shooting?
Damn. Big son of a bitch.
Is that all of them?
That's the best of them.
Like 20 more show up. It's like, no, this isn't all. Now it's all of us. And then you kill all of them, and like 40 show up. It's like, it's all of us. It's just never-ending wave of wolves. It's like he had such a large pack.
Still early. We'll stay up here a while. Dress this animal. Won't likely see another.
You know, dress this animal in the 21st century doesn't mean the same thing it meant in the 19th.
Yeah, anytime.
Today, if you say, we're going to dress this animal, that means you're going to put like a sweater on it.
Wait. Here's a pelt.
A little Beauty and the Beast moment. Yeah. Gaston style. Good old wolf pelt. Next year, Rams will probably be dangerous. They could be. They could be. The deer look weird that way. Alright. Combing the desert, dressing the animal. Exactly. Where's John? What's up, Hosty? Why do you say so long instead of bye or see you? I mean, I tend to use all of those. Oh yeah, I know that, Israel. We were talking about that earlier. He basically confirmed their guilt. I'm just here to get away from the gamers. Yeah, I'm like after the, I thought Leon and Spoon, I thought their debate over the matter was really good. I was glad to see that, and it was civil, it was well laid out. I was like, okay, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with the matter. It's like, I'm sick of hearing about it at this point. So I'm just like, can we just let it go at this point? This is really stupid. Let's move on. No presidential pardon for that animal abuser in his team, no sir. I wish there wasn't, but he did. He pardoned Fauci today, which is disgusting. And his own family. Like, he pardoned them and Fauci and the January 6th community. I'm like, jeez. Sounds like me and Newsom. He's a slime ball. We all know it. Yep. Yep. I'm sorry you are stuck there. I really am. They're clutching to their corn like Gollum and slinging ad hominem. Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of like, I don't know if you were watching the debate. One of the comments that I made that got highlighted was that, because they were talking about Razor Fist and how You know, and Leon brought up the point, it's like, I wonder if maybe he should make what he says a little bit more accessible for people who might not understand. And I was like, and my thought was, I get what you're saying, but I think the audience should just raise their game. I had no problem when Razor said what he said, I had zero trouble understanding what he meant. I said when he said that we can, what was the word he used? It's worth watching, Hosey. It's worth watching. And it was a very good faith discussion. It's a very good faith discussion. But in talking about what Razor had said on the matter, I'm trying to remember the exact word he used. He said we can insist on, games of a certain sort, basically. And I said, when he said insist, it was meant to be insist as in demand, as in supply and demand. He wasn't saying insist as in at the expense of other games, or in a sense that, when he said insist on games that aren't spiritually caustic, he wasn't saying we need to censor games that he considers spiritually caustic or that I might consider spiritually caustic. He was saying insist as in demand, like supply and demand. Basically, we can ask for games that cater to us as well. And I'm like, why is that difficult to understand? That's actually quite easy to understand. And I'm like, I don't think he needs to change what he said at all, or think. I was like, I think people. I think people projected there on what he said. I thought they did that very clearly, and I thought it was ridiculous. I think to a certain extent that's been done this whole time. On some of the stuff that he said, on some of the stuff that, even Melanie said, although I tend to agree, she's not good at articulating her points. Or at least she's often not good at articulating her points. I didn't think what Dread Roberts said was any big deal. I was like, what are you all getting so mad at? I don't even think the whole connection that was made to the Satanic Panic made a lot of sense, because I was like, what does Satanic Panic have to do with censorship? What was censored during the 90s due to the Satanic Panic? That whole thing wasn't about censorship. It was about parents being overprotective because they were ill-informed. What does that have to do with this? It's not a really smart connection. I mean, it's like, I would assume you all agree that games that have, sexual aspects like Stellar Blade or something shouldn't be marketed to children, so what the heck is the connection there? It's such a weird connection to make. It's because it's born of, Christianity that they're like, see, that this is the same thing. And I'm like, they're not really the same thing. And nobody's really calling for censorship on this stuff. It's silly. But it's gone in so many weird directions that I just feel like the plot got lost. To where it's like, one minute I found myself agreeing with people on one side, the next minute I'm like, I kind of agree with you all about this, but I'm like, can we go back to what this whole plot was even about? Because it feels like everybody keeps forgetting. It's so weird. Did you see that Mark Hamill's latest post? No, I didn't. Let's see, hold down X as Arthur pushes the bar down, releases here. Okay. So I have to pay attention to this. But yeah, it became such a weird discussion. And I'm like, ugh, we're just getting so lost with this one. It's goofy. Oh, thank God we don't have to do that for very long. Dynamite. Because the other thing I think people forget on things is like, okay, I'm not a big fan of games that push overt sexuality. That doesn't mean that I don't have certain tolerance levels. I mean, my favorite, Mass Effect's my favorite game series. Mass Effect has some sexuality to it. Now, would I prefer some of that have not been there? Yeah. But I have a certain tolerance level for some things. It's like some games just don't. I mean, this game even has a little bit of it. So it's like, okay, some things cross the line, some don't. It's like, do you actually need me to articulate that? I would hope not. That's like, I mean, it's like, you know, like if I have a tattoo, and then somebody said, oh, well, can I hit you on the head with a hammer? And I'd be like, no. They're like, what are you, some kind of hypocrite? You have a tattoo. I thought you liked pain. I'm like, what? It's like, no, the tattoo had, there's a tolerance level for pain, and I was okay with the result of the tattoo. I don't want to be hit on the head with a hammer. For me, sexuality only becomes an issue when it replaces the substance of the piece. I mean, that is definitely, like, that is one thing I don't like about it, and a big thing that I would agree with you on that. It's not the only thing where I can take issue. I tend not to like it, you know, in general, because I think almost all nudity I think is gratuitous. Almost all of it. But I tend not to be particularly fond of it whenever it's included. I think there's context where it can at least inform the story. And if it's handled tastefully, I tend not to have a big problem with it. But like I said, I have certain tolerance levels for some things, and then and I don't know what the line always is. It tends to depend on the piece, and it tends to depend on the substance of it altogether. So it's not always easy to define, but you know, as far as like when people were saying, well, you know, why is Melanie Mac saying this game's a problem, but this game she didn't seem to have a problem with, which is a little bit more, like the Stellar Blade and First Descendant one, I was like, okay, I think that's a fair critique of her standard. Because, and I would have to watch the totality of her video and her take to know for sure, but the idea I got from her take was that she doesn't like games that are intentional about that stuff, like are intending for their audience to be all, I guess, goonery about it, if we want to say that. And I'm like, well, I don't see how First Descendant in this regard is any better or worse than Stellar Blade, because Stellar Blade, I mean, what do you think the jiggle physics are for? Of course that game is intending that stuff. That's what the jiggle physics are there for. Of course Stellar Blade fits that mold. Tomb Raider you might be able to make an argument for, but granted, I would have to know more about Tomb Raider. I know that the way that game was marketed had sexuality. I don't know if that's actually in the games. Someone who's played Tomb Raider can maybe inform me on that. Why are you not grabbing? Come on. Oh, there's an X over there. Wait, what are we doing? Well, it's... Okay, hang on. There's something I missed. I know, John. More dynamite. What the heck? Oh, I missed a pillar. But anyway, yeah, it was a funny... It's one of those situations where I'm like, okay, we can have some disagreements on it, but can we just not misrepresent each other's points on this? And can we be consistent with our own? Are you doing a bridge on the River Kwai moment? Yeah, pretty much. What? Wait. Oh, okay, we need to go up. There's the ladder.
Train! Arthur, get up here quick! I'm on my way. Faster, buddy, come on!
It's like Stand By Me.
Arthur! The train!
Yes, I know.
Pump this stupid thing! As hard as you can! Let's go! Just get
And we're pumping.
faster! You're ready to jump! It's right on! Come on!
Push. Oh, it's already 12 p.m. Oh, wow. so long then. Wait a minute, 12... Do you mean 12 a.m. as in midnight?
No problem.
Because midnight's 12 a.m.
That just ain't how
12
I
p.m.
wanna
is
die.
noon. I thought you were, like, ahead of us time-wise.
Let's go blow this thing up.
Alright, so I wanted to get to what some of y'all were talking about on the matter. Game of Thrones, I find, handled it fine because the sexuality informs the degeneracy of the setting. I'd say maybe to an extent, although I do think often it was, like, insanely gratuitous. I would say they both, I think at times they did it more or less in context well, but I think there were a lot of times where it was just there because HBO has a boob quota. I'll tell you, one of the most gratuitous instances of sex I've ever seen in a show is Band of Brothers. You talk about a show that had no place for that whatsoever, but because like it was on HBO, so at some point they're like, well, we got to put it in there somewhere, and I think they put it in like episode 9. I think they put it in like episode 9 where I think it was Tom Hardy's character, who most people don't remember Tom Hardy was in Band of Brothers, but he is. They just show him randomly having sex with like a French girl, and it's just there. It's just random. It's just there, and I'm like, this is such a boob quota scene. It's ridiculous. It had no place in the series whatsoever. It was just there. And I'm like, I don't need that for Band of Brothers at all. It was so stupid. It's probably like the only moment. Well, it is the only moment of that entire series. Which Band of Brothers is immaculate. It is immaculate. It's a great series. But that one moment, I was just my eyes were rolling way in the back of my head on that one. I was like, ugh, that's horrible. Why'd you do that? That's so dumb. Thankfully, I mean, it recovers and everything, but it's like, y'all just couldn't help yourselves, could you? It's like, quick, throw a sex scene in there. We gotta have one. It's like, no, you really don't.
And Dutch has all the money.
And most of the episode was about Nixon's falling. Yeah, it's like, what are you all doing?
Abigail thinks she might know where some of that money is. Well, you tell her she better make sure. And then come talk to me. And we'll find out just who and what we should be loyal to. I don't know, Arthur. Nor do I.
Sorry, I'm just listening to the conversation.
Clearly now. I wish things were different. But it weren't us who changed.
It weren't us who changed. By the way, and I'll run this by some of y'all on here since you all are present for this little live event. So I've had this idea that maybe for a Gourd Tier Tuesday and for future ones, that whenever I'm covering a movie, particularly for a Poorly Explained, that I had an idea that maybe I could do a companion stream where I actually go over the movie and give an honest, like, complete review on it for a show. So right now I'm doing Aladdin, and I'm having a lot of fun writing that script. I've taken most of my notes for it and written notes about how I'm going to present it and whatnot. I'm probably going to have that script done this week and start editing it. So that video is going to be pretty soon. But I've been thinking about maybe doing like a review stream for that movie at the same time. Because obviously I have a lot of notes to where I could not only do a Poorly Explained for it, but obviously I could do a very extensive review on it. So if that is something you all are interested in seeing, just let me know. Let's see, Honor Amongst Thieves, that's the next one. Not a whole lot of missions left in this chapter, although there's obviously the epilogue that comes soon after. I think. Let's see. No, that's Goodbye, Dear Friend. So I think it's this one. I think it's a good idea. Cool, cool. But yeah, I would probably want to do it before, so like before I actually release the video. So if I do one for Aladdin, I might actually go ahead and do it next week. It's assuming that I can get the show I'm working on up. The one I'm working on, I can get that up by tomorrow, which again, I think I'll be able to. I did have to change it abruptly, but I think I'll be able to do this one fairly easily. It's just going to be a little time consuming. But then I might just do a stream combing over Aladdin next week, because it's funny, because Aladdin growing up was my favorite Disney movie. I would say I still love it, but it has fallen back on what movies that Disney did that I think are best. Like, I'll go ahead and spoil it this much. Is even though I prefer watching Aladdin, Lion King is better, like, significantly. Because Aladdin has some issues. It has some pretty big issues, in fact. Funny thing is, when I was doing my notes for it, there was an issue that popped up that I was like, I have noticed this since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I didn't think of it as a movie criticism. I just thought, it was just a question I asked. I was like, why didn't they do this? And now watching it again, now doing criticism, I'm like, that's a legit criticism. But I am looking forward to putting the Aladdin video out because I think it's gonna be fun. But Aladdin does have some actual, like, for real problems. There's always a Beauty and the Beast fan. Beauty and the Beast is excellent. I love Beauty and the Beast. But tell you one that I love is Mulan. I think Mulan is the most underrated movie they did. And I think Mulan is very well crafted. Little Mermaid, Ariel pissed me off, really. It's funny. I've never watched Little Mermaid. Never watched it. Not all the way through. I think growing up when I saw Little Mermaid, I just thought this was a girl's movie. So as a kid, I wasn't interested in seeing it. I would watch it now. Because honestly, I sort of thought the same thing about Beauty and the Beast until I was kind of forced to watch that as a kid, and I was like, oh, okay, this appeals to everybody. I love Beauty and the Beast. I was always a Cars fan. Interesting. I think the first Cars is fun. Read the actual tale first. It's great. I have read the Hans Christian Andersen tale, I think.
Despite the fact that I think he's a horse's ass. He knows.
Want to read an original tale that Disney did a movie of? Go back and read the Brothers Grimm version of Cinderella. Oh, Cinderella's hardcore. Mulan and the Lion King probably had the best soundtrack. I agree. Gaston was always my fave as a kid. I mean, Gaston's a Chad.
Come on, Captain Monroe.
Mr. Morgan, you must act with due caution.
Cars 2 is a masterpiece. Okay, I know you're trolling there. I love the real Cinderella. The real Cinderella that's a hardcore. That is a hardcore fairy tale. Into the Woods did that really well with her cutting her foot off. I didn't see any Into the Woods. Interesting.
He knows you're up here helping these people.
Yes.
Interesting. They did it a little more honestly. That's cool. I mean, really, like, the Brothers Grimm versions were always a little, like, eyebrow raising because you're like, wow, these old school fairy tales weren't messing around. Apparently there was a Russian version of Cinderella. There was extra hardcore. Yeah, exactly. It's Russian. Yeah, Brothers Grimm, they didn't mess around with their stuff. It's like, oh, you thought the stepsisters just didn't get married? No, no. They not only don't get the prince, they get their eyeballs plucked out after they try to deceive by one, like, cutting part of her heel off, the other one cutting her big toe off. It's like, oh, jeez. That means, like, wow, Cinderella would have had to have put her foot into a pretty bloody shoe. It's like, thank God that was the last house he went to, because
Okay.
it's like, you all messed up the shoe.
Show me where to find this wagon, and I'll get the medicine for it.
And what's funny is, like, the rest of the story isn't nearly that. It's like, the rest of the story is, to my recollection, relatively standard fairy tale stuff. It's just once you get to that ending, it's just like, whoa, this got R-rated all of a sudden. Holy crap.
I understand. So I should
Even Hans Christian Andersen, yeah, definitely. Also, the Snow Queen deserved better than Frozen. Screw Frozen. I hate Frozen. I hate Frozen. Hate it! By the way, Janet, I'm curious about something. Since you brought up Hans Christian Andersen, have you ever seen, and I believe it's from it's either late 40s or early 50s, the film The Red Shoes? Because it's based on a Hans Christian Andersen story. Because if you haven't, it is one of the greatest movies ever made. The Red Shoes is an incredible movie, way ahead of its time, and just visually lush. I mean, you talk about a beautiful movie to set your eyes upon. It's just, the color palette is so rich. But everyone who makes over Black Swan, I'm like, guys, there is no Black Swan without the Red Shoes. There is no Black Swan without the Red Shoes. Doesn't happen. And the Red Shoes is way better. Oh, Janet, you need to watch it and then get back with me. I would love to hear what you think of it. It's so good. I first heard of it when Martin Scorsese was doing like a list of his favorite movies, and I believe he has the Red Shoes in his top 10. So I was intrigued. And they have it in the Criterion collection. I bought it, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. The basic setup is, it's a movie where you have this man, or you have this woman. She's an aspiring ballet performer. Anything I need to fast forward on that one? The Red Shoes? Well, no, it's, like I said, it's a 40s or 50s movie.
In that case, I can see we shall be great.
But it's about
May I ask you a question?
this man, he's a ballet director, and
Save us all.
he's obsessed with the art of the ballet, and this aspiring dancer who, if I'm not mistaken, this was the only movie performance of her career because she was an actual ballerina, but she is similarly obsessed with ballet. And this obsession ends up getting in the way of other things in her life. It creates a very complex relationship between her and the director. It complicates things between her and the man that she's that begins to oops. I don't know if we were actually supposed to kill them, but whatever. But it also just, the actual scenes where they perform the Red Shoes ballet, they're like the actual ballet sequence. It's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen on film, because, you know, obviously back in those days, they were much more limited in the kind of things they depict. The way they depict, like, kind of the, like, not just the ballet, but what's going on in the actual character's head, it's wild. It's like, wow, they accomplished this so well, because it's almost like you're watching a ballet performance and there becomes this added, like, psychological element where parts of it you're like, there's no way this would really be happening. So this is partially going on in her head at the same time. It's really well done. So well done. But yeah, I love that movie. I think it would be interesting to read the Red Shoes before, because, like, you know, like, it's about them putting on a ballet for that story that Hans Christian Andersen wrote. And it's kind of becomes a life imitating art sort of story, because the Red Shoes story is about similar obsession. So yeah, it's really, really good. I had to watch a French movie for bonus points in music appreciation once. Well, what movie? There's no Black Swan without the red shoes and Perfect Blue. Yeah, very true. I've read that story, so I can't wait. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you say about it. Yeah, I love the red shoes. It's so good, so good. But yeah, and that's the interesting thing. It's from a time where, because it's if you were to release it today, its mature theme might get it like a PG rating because it's not a kids movie. But I mean, there's nothing like sex or language or anything like that. I guess you could argue that there's moments where like some of the performers are dressed scantily, I guess, for that time period, but nothing really bad. I just finally watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Oh, I love Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's so good. One of the best animated movies to come out in a very long time. I love The Last Wish. It's such a well-told story. I need to rewatch that. That's such a good one. Oh, Israel. Puss in Boots 2. It's one of the top 5 animated movies of the 21st century. It's great. It is great. And it was such a pleasant surprise because look, I liked the first Puss in Boots. I thought it was fun. But, it was like your standard decent spinoff. That's really all it was. It was a decent Shrek spinoff. It was better than Shrek 3 and 4 by far. But that's not saying a lot. But then The Last Wish comes out, it's like, oh my gosh. Is it better than Shrek? Honestly, I saw you, Hosty. Don't watch it. Gotcha. Is it better than Shrek? I honestly don't know. It's hard for me to judge. It's hard for me to judge it against Shrek because I've seen Shrek so many times. I would say at the very least, it's as far as thematically, I would say it's more interesting than Shrek. Is it a better movie? Tough call. That's a tough call. I would have to watch The Last Wish probably a lot more to know for sure what I think. So maybe one day we'll figure that one out. It's funny, I'm doing these missions and I barely know what's going on. I don't know if I had to kill those guys just now. It's just like, shoot them up. And then I lost some honor. I was like, I guess I probably didn't have to do that. Just a lot more cut down on the sexual aspects, which I liked.
I got the miss.
Oh, wonderful. That's great news, Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, don't worry. It didn't go too bad.
I'll take your word for that. We could both swing for this.
Yeah, well, I think I'm a little past caring about hanging, Monroe.
He's like, I'm choking without the noose around me.
Favors thinks he was robbed by bandits and not...
Oh no, I'm still a bandit. There ain't no doubt about that.
Of course. Well, I better get to work. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Bandit or not, this was a good thing.
Musical as usual, Sondheim Fair.
To be done.
Okay, cool.
I hope so.
I think Nosferatu should have cut down on the sexual aspects. I agree. I think, and, we brought this up. I think, I still think the scene between her and Nicholas Hoult was pretty gratuitous. I thought that was unnecessary. I mean, I've seen far worse in that regard, but I didn't particularly like the scene. I love the movie. I think the movie itself is really, really good. But that scene, I was just like, you didn't really need that scene. Oh, wait. Edith Downs? The entire last act. Yeah, I mean, it didn't need, I get the point of it, but yeah, you definitely could have cut down on the, I was about to say T and A, but I guess it's just T in that regard, but yeah, you definitely didn't need all of that. Not to mention, I got a real give evil what they want vibe. No, I don't think that was the point of the movie. because she was giving herself up to defeat evil. So the ending, I actually thought, I liked thematically what the ending was. I mean, it was her basically having to completely self-sacrifice in order to protect the people she loved. And I'm like, okay, thematically, like that a lot. You know, you don't necessarily need all the TNA to get there, but thematically, very much liked it. And I know some people weren't totally down with the mustache look for Orlok. I think it's great. I love the look that they gave Orlok in that regard. I like the way the story is told, kind of like an old folktale. I think aesthetically it's incredible. But I would still rate Nosferatu very high overall. It's not necessarily my favorite movie of last year, but it's up there. It's still up there, despite what I don't like about it. Oh no, horsey. Exactly. It's like, oh brother. Why people keep on talking about Orlok? Well, you got to remember, Orlok looked like the real Count Dracula. Do people not get that? No, unfortunately, a lot of people don't get that, which is kind of funny. Even when you tell them, guys, he's meant to look like Vlad the Impaler. Just look at a picture of Vlad the Impaler. They're like, but it's weird. And it's like, it's not weird. That's the point. It's not weird at all. It's actually very time period appropriate for a Hungarian to look the way Orlok did. By the way, Vlad the Impaler, fascinating individual. Fascinating individual. Actually, there's a book I've now got. There's a book about him that I put on my Amazon wish list that I'm very keen on reading that Vex recommended to me. Life isn't anime. I think people don't get... Even I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean it's not anime? You're telling me this cat beside me isn't anime? Cats aren't real. They're anime, obviously. If you like learning about him, there's a guy who does great deep dive into him. I mean, there's a few, but I assume I know you have somebody specific in mind, which I would be interested in hearing. It's possible I've come across this person, but I would like to hear all the same. Yeah, let's get some. Poor Arthur, I'm sorry. He's just like, no, I'm rejecting this. Oh, can you eat some beans? Come on, Arthur, eat something. Kidney beans. They'll help your kidneys. The tamer is Raven Knight. I've heard of Raven Knight. I don't know if I've seen I don't know if I've seen what he did on Vlad necessarily, but I have heard that YouTube name before. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. It's great. Let me get it for you. Cool, cool. I would say don't leave it in the live chat comments. Leave it in the comments. That way it'll be more permanent. Uh-oh, I see smoke. Gotcha. No problem. Speaking of deep dive videos, one thing I watched last night, which by the way, I was awake I would say too late last night, but it was actually early because I stayed up way too long. I took a nap around 10 o'clock from like 10 to 12. I work weekends, so I have a really wonky weekend schedule. So I napped between like 10 p.m. and midnight and woke up and didn't go back to sleep till probably 6. So that was fun. But I watched a video that was done about 3 weeks ago about the connections between the Halo games and Christian symbolism. It wasn't done by Wendigoon, but Wendigoon assisted with it. And by the way, if you don't know, I would assume almost everybody here knows who Wendigoon is. If you don't watch his stuff, Wendigoon's awesome. He's one of my favorite YouTubers now. But that was a really cool video. That was really cool. It made me want to look into the matter. because I'm going to soon be doing videos that talk about biblical connections between, that exist within media. What's up, Abomination AJ? How you doing? The movie I was talking about earlier is Farinelli. Interesting. Cool. Go north, young man, go north. I thought it was west. I mean, you've got several choices of which direction you can go. Gord, have you seen M, that movie that Goodwin was talking about? I haven't yet. I haven't. That's definitely one that I've got on my watch list, but I have not watched that yet. I've known about that movie for a really long time, but I've never gotten around to actually checking it out. But I am keen on doing so because I think it looks very interesting. I think that looks like a rather fascinating one. It's excellent. It's on. Oh wow, it's actually on YouTube. So it's not even copyright protected. Interesting. I will keep that in mind. If it's on YouTube and I can just watch it, neat. It is about a castrato in the 1700s where he struggles with his career, brother, and how he can't have children. Okay. That actually just reminded me of something I watched this weekend because it brought up the whole thing struggling and with one's brother. I was actually watching one of Wendigoon's videos this weekend about Vincent van Gogh and how, many people, the narrative always was that he took his own life, but how a lot of the stuff surrounding that don't seem to line up, that at least it seems a little bit more plausible that he was either murdered in the first degree or accidentally. Oh, ASMR beginneth. Actually, Whitey, I'm glad you said that because I thought of a video you could do as a joke. I think it would if you could take all the noises that R2D2 makes and make them sound very ASMR. You could do ASM R2D2 as a little 3 or 4 minute bit or something. I thought that'd be kind of funny. Wait, so people don't talk about the lead in his veins? I mean, I'm sure they do, but that's not what killed him. No, we know that Van Gogh died of a bullet wound. It was just the narrative always was that it was self-inflicted, but there's a lot of evidence surrounding it that he was actually shot by a 16-year-old who was kind of constantly taunting him and stuff like that. It's again, if you really want to know, if you want all the information, you could go to Wendigoon's channel and check out his video on it. It's really good. It's not super long. It's 40-ish minutes or so, but maybe 45. It's really interesting. And I always personally, I didn't know a ton about the story. Obviously I know who Van Gogh is. I knew that the belief was that he killed himself, but I always found it a little odd that the idea that he killed himself, because I knew he was religious. He was I think he was Methodist, and I was like, I know he had psychological issues, but he was very devoutly religious, as far as I know, and a lot of devoutly religious people, they recognize, whether you're Catholic or Protestant, obviously, Catholics tend to look at suicide as a mortal sin. Protestants like myself, we don't look at it as a damnable sin, but it's a sin all the same, so you wouldn't want to do it. It's like Christians, either which way you go, you don't want to end your life in suicide. But I always thought that was a little bit curious that Van Gogh would do that, and watching that vid, I was like, yeah, I tend to think that's a little sketch. 16-year-olds hardcore back then. For those who don't know what a castrato is, a man who was castrated before his voice could change due to puberty. They earned way more money than normal singers. Oh, wow. Wow. Interesting. I watch 10-hour videos in under an hour. Doesn't apply. Well, that at least gives me the comfort if I ever decide to make a 10-hour video, then I will know I at least have one person who's going to watch it. Hell, I know at least one of you will. Soren Kierkegaard wrote that self-deletion was the ultimate rejection of God. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call that the ultimate one, but I mean, obviously I believe, I mean, not even believe, I mean, it's obvious, I mean, suicide is a sin. That's undeniable. It's a sin. You know, I'm not a Catholic, so my view on the matter is different than Catholics, but it's a sin nonetheless.
Mr. Morgan.
You still here, kid?
Yes. Mama can't leave. Won't leave.
And it's the kind, and the thing about suicide is that it's the kind of sin that even if you're a Protestant and you don't believe that it's a damnable sin in and of itself, it's the kind of sin that would throw your faith into question.
I'm sorry.
It is the kind of sin that would make people wonder, were you actually a believer? Did your faith fail you? You know, it's that kind of sin where it's a terrible witness at best.
I'll see what I can do.
It's like there was a youth minister I knew back in my early 20s who I was good friends with, who he killed himself, and I know that was very difficult to accept. Like I more or less know the reason he did, but that was a tough one to deal with because he was somebody that I very much liked, admired, we got along with, and finding that out was rough. That was pretty rough. Yeah, like with Van Gogh, like the like even though I found it troubling that he would kill himself, at the same time I was like, well, he did have mental illness, so there's that component. So that made it a little easier to accept the idea of it, but it was still curious to me because I was like, okay, you can have mental illness, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to kill yourself. But listening to the evidence that was presented on the video, I was like, okay, there at least seems to be a very good chance he didn't, and in fact might have done something rather virtuous when he passed away. Yeah, Van Gogh's he was an interesting figure. And a fine artist. I always liked his art. Actually, one of my favorite sequences of Kurosawa's Dreams, which, if you are keen on Kurosawa movies and you don't mind something from him that is wholly esoteric, then I recommend Dreams. Dreams is he's my favorite painter. Oh, interesting, cool. But yeah, there's a sequence where Martin Scorsese plays Van Gogh in Dreams, which is pretty cool. I liked Dreams a lot.
That's enough now, partner.
And actually, my brother made a really good video about Dreams.
Who are you? Someone who don't want to hear no more of your nasty mouth. Push me. I'll put a bullet in you.
I presume Archie sent you?
I said clear off before I deal with you.
He brings up he has a nasty mouth that he, like, spits. I'm laughing because he was just so stereotypically pervy. He's like,
You sound like my husband.
I know. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what happened. I was a fool.
But all in subtitles, they mix the highest male voice with the woman. I mean, I don't mind subtitles.
Don't go and get yourself killed because of your pride.
I do subtitles a lot too.
You have a son.
I hear fine more or less, but
I'm just so ashamed.
to me, it's like if if audio isn't clear, then I can have a hard time discerning what people say.
You loved him. You did everything for him. Let's get you home.
All right. Let's go.
I think this is actually the first time I've played this story out to this extent. I actually always thought it ended with the last part. So this is neat. Arthur doing the virtuous thing.
I'm sorry it had to come to this.
Stop saying sorry. Sorry won't bring Thomas back.
I know.
So you're sick now too? And you think that affords you the opportunity for penance for cutting his time short?
No, I ain't looking for that.
Okay then. So just forget about me and the guilt you're carrying, because no good can come of that for either of us. And all you can do now is decide the man you want to be for the time you have left. Help someone who can still be helped. Or help yourself.
I suppose you're right.
Oh, hang yourself for all I care.
You're right to dislike me. I ain't looking for that to change.
I mean, for crying out loud, look how ugly you are now.
Archie should
It's
be
horrible.
waiting for us just up ahead. Let's go, boy.
What, do they want me to ride up on that thing? Come on now. Come on. This game reminds me a lot of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where it shows things as is rather than prettied romantic version of the West. Yeah.
Mama!
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West is excellent.
Archie, oh, we do.
Get out of here. Go live someplace else. Start over. Here, take this. I don't need it no more.
I don't want your money.
Yeah, I know you don't want it.
I don't.
You sure as shit need it. Take it.
No.
I ain't looking for forgiveness. It ain't about that. But don't forgive me. Just take the money and get out of here. Please. I know I ruined your life. I suffer for it every day. But don't let yourself get killed for pride. I seen it kill too many folk. Don't say anything. Don't thank me. Just take the money and pack your bags. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
I said don't thank me. Get out of here. Please.
Okay, yeah, that hit. That's a good part. That's a genuine selfless act. Well done, game. Well done. You hit me in the feels a bit. You got me, partner. Waylon says, that is my #1 movie. Cool, cool. Alright, let's head to Josiah Trelawney. My dad is a major John Wayne fan. I respect those films for what they are, but it's just not my thing. I go more for the Magnificent Seven kind of thing. I still need to see that. I have only ever seen the movie that the Magnificent Seven is based on, which we talked about earlier. The Seven Samurai, which Seven Samurai is one of the best movies ever made.
Y'all right there, sir?
Yes.
Nope.
Why?
Been some grip going around here.
Rio Bravo.
That's
That's better.
you know what? Never mind. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I have heard a lot of good things about Rio Bravo. I haven't got it yet myself. I love Seven Samurai 100%. Nice, nice. It had the exclamation mark by the mail thing, as though I had mail. The heck? Give me my mail. You got mail.
That's no place for you.
Why isn't it locked then?
How you do?
Yeah, a lot of Kurosawa movie. Kurosawa is kind of the grandfather of the American Western. And not only Seven Samurai, which he did a masterpiece, Yojimbo and Sanjuro, which, I mean, Yojimbo in A Fistful of Dollars are almost shot for shot similar, and I mean, Kurosawa won a lawsuit over it. I even like his quote about it. Like, he wasn't necessarily bitter because he said, look, Leone made a great movie, he just made my movie. And I love both of them, but gosh, Yojimbo is so good. And Sanjuro is fantastic too. Was also taking a lot from westerns too. I mean, yeah, to an extent, though he helped it a lot as himself. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Kurosawa's the greatest director who ever lived. Just top to bottom, he did so many good movies. I mean, that guy doesn't just have like one or two masterpieces, he has like numerous masterpieces. What are you doing, Arthur? Shooting. I haven't seen El Dorado in a little while. I remember liking it. I wasn't like blown away by it, but I liked it. That was fun. As far as Western themed animation goes, I'll go for Rango personally, but what'd you say? Spielberg has 5 masterpieces. Let's see. Let me think. So, as far as Spielberg masterpieces go, Jaws. What's up, Jacob? How you doing? Let's see. Jaws is a masterpiece. I would say Schindler's List is a masterpiece. Saving Private Ryan's a masterpiece. I think it's fine to call Jurassic Park a masterpiece. Jurassic Park has some issues, but I do adore that movie. So if someone wants to call that a masterpiece, I'm not going to argue with them. What else has he done? I would say Catch Me If You Can is a great movie. Maybe not a masterpiece, but definitely a great movie. Any of the indie movies from it? Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, shoot. He directed the Indiana Jones movies. Yes. 2 of them I would call masterpieces.
Yeah, you're gonna be okay.
Raiders and Last Crusade are masterpieces. Temple of Doom, while I like it, has gobs of problems. I still like it. But I would say Raiders and Last Crusade, I'm fine calling both of those masterpieces. I am fine with both of them being called masterpieces. I forgot for a sec that he directed them. That's weird. Like, of course he directed them. They're mad at Elon Musk for doing a Roman salute. Get over it, people. I don't know what's going to happen over the next 4 years about, as far as, like, how much of the promise will be fulfilled with this, that, and the other, but it's going to be funny in a lot of ways, nevertheless. Close Encounters is probably my favorite movie. Interesting. I need to rewatch Close Encounters because I know when I saw it, I was kind of lukewarm on it. So I may have just not been in the right mood with Close Encounters. E.T. is good. It's far from a masterpiece. I think E.T. is fine, but it is very overrated. Like, wildly overrated. I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10. I did not like E.T. I understand that. I know the first time I watched E.T., I didn't like it. I'd watch the Twilight Zone movie over any day. Interesting. They're losing their minds over one gesture. Boo. Internet's gay. I can imagine what part of the internet's losing their mind over it, but they lose their minds over everything. I think it's just they're trying to find anything they can to divert attention away from the pardons, which are the bad news of the day by far. Stoking the hot coals, exactly.
It'll be okay, miss. You sure?
Cameron masterpieces. Let's see. I would say the first Terminator is a great movie, not a masterpiece. Terminator 2 is a masterpiece. Aliens is a masterpiece. I would say that's, for me, that's probably it. I would say that's it, as far as masterpieces go. Terminator 2 is so freaking good. And, so is Aliens. Okay, alright. Paul, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Poll in the, shoot, I can't put the poll in the chat. What the heck? Maybe it's too late in the chat to do it, but whatever. Poll, everyone can just say, Terminator 2 or Aliens, which do you prefer? I think it's hard to do. I would say Ridley has 3. Well, let's see, Blade Runner, Alien, why am I blanking? Aliens, no question. Interesting. I would say okay, full disclosure, I do prefer Aliens. But it is, I wouldn't say no question for me as far, like, I think it's really close. I would not call Gladiator a masterpiece. Gladiator, I think, has a lot wrong with it. I do really, like, I love Gladiator in terms of my own enjoyment, but Gladiator, even technique-wise, has problems. But, like, it has a lot of, I think it has issues storytelling-wise and whatnot. Like, but it's really, really fun. Like, Gladiator is still a pretty awesome movie. I love it. Like, my enjoyment level for Gladiator is like a 9. As far as filmmaking, I think it's probably a little bit more like a 7. Maybe like even a 7.5. Black Hawk Down.
Found a friend looking for you.
I'd have to rewatch that to know where I'd score it, but that is a really awesome movie. I think The Martian is awesome. I love The Martian. Those are really high up there too. Those are, for me, his 5 best movies. Funny enough, I know the other one he did that's very highly regarded is Thelma and Louise. I don't even know if I've seen Thelma and Louise. Like, I know things about Thelma and Louise. I don't know if I've ever watched it. I don't even know if I've seen it. I've heard it's really good. I've heard even some say it's great, but I don't know. So I would have to watch that to know for sure if that's any good.
Perhaps I could make one last request.
I've actually met a couple of the soldiers that were involved with Black Hawk Down too, like that were actually there for that mission. That are surprising. Problem is, Ridley has so many movies that are surprising he directed. Yeah, surprisingly bad.
Will you, Arthur?
They are indeed.
No, I know.
Yeah, Black Hawk Down's really, really good. It's a harrowing film. I met the man who Josh Hartnett portrayed. I have met him before. And there's a character in the movie who's not in it very much, but I'd have to. I think I want to say his name's William something, but I don't know that for sure. He's only in the movie very, very briefly, but if you look the individual up, he was Army Ranger of the Year some years back, because they have like a competition they do. He's a highly decorated soldier, and he became a minister. And he preached at the church I used to attend. He's a fantastic minister, by the way. Really fantastic minister. Really, I mean, it's interesting because he was overseas at war for a very long time, and yet the way he talks, like, he doesn't talk like somebody who has like really like strong like PTSD or stuff like that. He seems very much at peace. I mean, that doesn't mean he never goes through it. I'm sure he probably does at times, but he's a very you know, what's the word? He's a very well-adjusted soldier. As far as like denominationally, the best way to describe me is a Bible-believing Christian. I do currently attend a Baptist church, but denomination's more just it's happenstance as far as I'm concerned. I more just look for sound biblical teaching. You know, I think probably the best adjective is probably reformed, but you know, like a lot of my favorite teachers are like, you know, R.C. Sproul, who's like R.C. Sproul is like Presbyterian, and he's one of my favorites. John MacArthur's somebody I very much love. He's non-denominational. Vodi Bakum, love him. He's Baptist. You know, all of them fall under the Reformed umbrella, but they're all different denominations. Hacksaw Ridge and Black Hawk Down. Interesting. Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge. I saw at Steven Zahn's house, the actor, which I've told that story many times, but if you didn't know that, Janet, there you go. The actor Steven Zahn, my sister-in-law house sat for him several times. She was at my brother and her wedding, and they were house sitting for Steven Zahn several years back. And I got to go over to his house, and he had an Oscar screener of Hacksaw Ridge while it was still in theaters, so I got to watch it at his house. That was neat. What is sound biblical doctrine to you? I mean, that's a loaded question there, Israel. As far as the principle, I mean, being a reformist, I'm sola scriptura. I'm of that, you know, of that mindset, obviously. But that's well, it's not. It's more just. It's not a question it's a very difficult question to answer without a whole lot of time and not going topic by topic by topic by topic. That's about as loaded a question as there could exist. Because, you know, like, I brought up all those various teachers, obviously with them being of different denominations, obviously they don't agree on every single thing. You know, like R.C. Sproul has a very different view of baptism, for example, than, say, John MacArthur does. So, you know, it's like various teachers. It's like some of the things they teach I fully agree with, other ones I don't. You know, but I do consider all of those men excellent teachers. All fellow Christians. R.C. obviously has passed away, but he was one of my favorites. I think he's excellent at breaking down scripture. I don't agree with him. I didn't agree with him on baptism, but a lot of the other stuff I very much agree with him on. I think he's really good at breaking down scripture, breaking down the original languages, things like that. Liked him a lot. Whereas there's some other famous teachers I think are terrible, like Joel Osteen. I think he's awful. I think he's kind of gross, to be perfectly honest. Not a fan of his at all. But it tends to be a topic-by-topic thing, and I don't personally claim to know all of the answers, but, you know. But yeah, that's a hard question to just answer. Poor Arthur. Oh no.
Okay, man?
He's clearly not okay.
Where was I?
You're a gentleman with limits?
I think TD Jakes. Angel, I know you're teasing there.
Are you being facetious, Captain Monroe?
Just so you know, it's like, I know Israel well enough to know when he's just trolling a bit, and he's trolling there, I assure you. He knows as well as probably all of us do. If you know who those two individuals are kind of awful.
Thank you.
Of a non-Bible based teacher. He's barely even a teacher. He's a motivational speaker, is what I'd call him. And a bad one. We gotta listen in.
Disgrace of him. Monroe. Seems like
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, people like T.D. Jakes and Joe Osteen are scum. I think they're scum.
thinks it's right.
It doesn't mean they cannot. It doesn't mean they cannot repent. They obviously could, but more of a Jesus knows me kind of preacher. Not necessarily. He's more of a I don't talk about sin and hell preacher. He's that kind. Like he actually Joel Osteen very openly refuses to talk about sin and hell. Exactly. Exactly, Dave. They are in it for the money. They are in it for the money. They're charlatans. And to me, one of the most interesting stories in the Bible that very much gets misunderstood is the woman who gives her 2 cents, who even good. I've even seen good teachers get that story wrong, because that often gets taught as though it's a picture of Christian giving. Because Jesus says, "You see this woman; she is given more here than anyone." People think that he's commending her. He's not. He's not commending her. He's condemning the temple. Because if you look at how he talked about the temple right before that, he's very much condemning them. So the point of that story is basically it's a condemnation on, teachers who basically are predatory towards like widows and orphans and people like that. And if you look at people like Joe Osteen, T.D. Jakes, a lot of televangelists, if you listen to what they say when they're asking for money, they will very often target people who are going through hardship. Widows are often a target. It's gross. Kenneth Copeland is definitely one of the. And yes, again, Israel's trolling. Copeland's absolutely an example of this. But that's a story that I think gets very easily misunderstood, because you see that story and you think, oh well, he's talking about you give everything. It's like, no, that's not the point of that story. Taken in the full context, that's not what the story is about. Run away! But yeah, a lot of health and wealth gospel is the other kind of way we tend to put it, is the health and wealth teachers. They're particularly gross. By the way, if y'all have ever seen those memes where they have that one guy, that one preacher, and they're inserting like fart noises over him. There are people who sometimes wonder, is that disrespectful to Christianity that they're putting the fart noise over him? And I'm always like, no, he's not a Christian. That guy was gross. I don't remember the man's name, but I find those memes particularly funny because that man's not a Christian. That man was not a Christian at all, or is not. He's actually still around, funny enough. But makes me scratch my head, since you would think they understand the mortal and immortal repercussions of sins like this, yet they persist. Well, I mean, like I said, they're not Christians. They basically, it's funny, and this to me is why so many people miss the subtext of There Will Be Blood, because There Will Be Blood has, I think, intentional commentary on this very thing. That's really fascinating. A lot of people think There Will Be Blood is thematically about religion versus capitalism. I'm like, no, it's not. If you listen to the dialogue between Daniel Plainview and Eli at the end, what does he tell Eli to say? By the way, if you haven't seen this movie, watch There Will Be Blood. It's incredible. And look, they're correct if there's when they say, anyone who assesses that Daniel Plainview is not a Christian, I agree with that. He obviously isn't. But what he's making Eli admit at the end, when he says, "I want you to tell me you're a false prophet and that God is a superstition," that's what he makes him say in his deal. He makes him say that. And people think, I've seen people interpret that as basically the way that Eli frames it, as he's wanting Eli to say what Daniel believes. And I'm like, no, he's making Eli admit what he believes, that he regards God as a superstition, and obviously he's a false prophet. Like, he's like, I want you to admit what you are and what you actually believe. That is what he's saying there. That's very clearly what he's saying. Because Eli is a health and wealth teacher. Now, does Daniel actually care as far as, religiously? Is he religiously offended by that? No, he's not an actual believer either. But he recognizes neither does Eli. Like, the point of There Will Be Blood is not religion versus capitalism. It has very little to do with greed. Greed has very little to do with the story of There Will Be Blood. There Will Be Blood is about pride in its most toxic and satanic form. That movie is about pride, and it's so fascinating. It's arguably the best movie about that particular sin, at least that I can think of. It is so well done. Like, if you want to see a movie that personifies the toxicity of personal pride, There Will Be Blood. It's amazing. Exactly. Well, I mean, pride is kind of at the root of every sin, because at the root of every sin is you're putting yourself ahead of God, and in essence, you're making yourself God. But Daniel is very much that, and it's like, put it this way: The Only Blood is a movie I very much intend on making a video of at some point. I fully intend on doing a video about this movie. I want to get better at the craft before I do it. But I have had There Will Be Blood is one of the movies that made me make a YouTube channel. It is very much one of those. But anyway, I wanted to address some of the things that were said in chat. I laugh when people call MLK Jr. a Christian. I mean, I don't laugh. I'm more just kind of shake my head. I'm like, any basic reading of MLK Jr.'s doctrine would tell you he wasn't a Christian. He wasn't a believer. Like, he didn't believe in the resurrection. He did not believe in the divinity of Christ. He was actually a communist.
Maybe Mr. Monroe from now on. I'm sorry.
It's like, he wasn't a Christian at all. At all. Oh, I know. Try saying that in any liberal area. People will freak out, call you a racist and all that stuff. And I'm like, it's true. It's like, just look at his doctrine. MLK wasn't a Christian by any stretch of the imagination. I don't revel in that. I think it's sad. I think it's very sad.
You okay?
A nun!
What are you doing here?
Well, I'm on my way
You
down
do
to
need to see
Mexico.
that movie.
They're
Very
finally
much so.
sending me on a mission. Brother Dorkins is
Telling Dismas that he would join him in paradise. Oh, the thief, yeah. Thief on the cross, yeah. Paul Thomas Anderson or Nolan? I dipped my toes calling him a commie, and Malcolm X was way more based. Yeah, he was. And that's not to say I agreed with everything about Malcolm X, but to Malcolm X's credit, he at least changed a lot of his views over time. And there's part of me that wonders where he would be if he had lived where he would be in his beliefs if he had lived another 10 years.
bad lives, Mr. Morgan. We all sin.
Israel, you messaged something and I don't even see it. Hang on, let me see if I can adjust this to where I can see it. I am curious what you just said. Okay, there we go. Slaughtered as a Christian when we were kids. Yeah, I was taught all that stuff too.
I don't know.
It's because he's a figure.
Whenever we happen to meet, you're always helping.
Exactly, Dave. Exactly. He was a believer in the quote-unquote social gospel.
I had a son. He passed away.
I'm learning about Thomas Sowell now too. Yeah, Thomas Sowell is a very interesting individual.
My mama died when I was a kid.
Very interesting guy.
Daddy. Well, I watched him die.
To me, like anytime you see a figure
My husband
outside
died
of
a long
Christ
time ago.
who gets like lauded and borderline deified. It's red flags. Red flags all around. Doesn't even necessarily mean they were just horrific and awful and there's nothing but lies around them. It's just any figure that gets lauded
You see your life
to that kind of extent, be wary. Just be wary.
Perhaps you could help somebody. Help him make
Oh, there's a nun on
humility.
screen. I'm sitting here hoping and cringing. I would say they are... The Red Dead games, they're more or less kind to the nuns in this game.
Often, neither do I. But then I meet someone like you, and everything makes sense.
You're too smart for me, sister. I guess
I'm used to getting slept. Oh, yeah, I know.
I'm afraid.
Media in general is often not too kind to
Nothing
Christianity
to be
or
afraid of,
Catholicism.
Mr. Morgan. Take a gamble that love exists and do a loving act.
All aboard!
Arthur's like, I was going to rob this train, but I seem to think that would be rude now, with you getting on here, ma'am.
Goodbye, Mr. Morgan.
It would be really funny. I'm not going to lie. There's part of me that thinks it would be really funny if I robbed this train. I'm not going to do it. It would be funny, though. I'm not going to lie.
Come on now, boy.
Come, Wombonius. She's being gentle with them. She's being very gentle. Gentle lady. Humans are pretty kind. They are. They are. I'm curious how the next Rockstar game is going to... I'm not gonna... I wish he was a Christian, obviously. He's so much better than MLK. I mean, I agree. I mean, as far as what he recognized about various circumstances, like I mean, when I say I love this figure, that figure, I'm always wary of saying that, like, as loving as human beings, it's like, yeah, but they're dead now. Teachings, it's like, I agree with some of it, disagree with some of it, but as far as, like, who was the smarter of the two, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, it's pretty obvious who was smarter between the two of them. And like I said, he adapted over time. He recognized things over time. Wow, $1 for a gold tooth. I would have thought that'd been worth a little bit more. Interesting.
Pick this up off the street, no doubt.
It's like, dang, Arthur, you could have just given this jewelry to the nun and said, here, cash all this in. It's worth so much more.
This must be an heirloom, huh?
Nugget. Belt buckle. Platinum watch. From what I'm reading about it, yeah. I mean, there's obviously, like, a lot of the early stuff he used to think and whatnot. Obviously, I agree with that a lot less, but, you know, he adapted a lot over time. What's a buck get you in this world? Funny enough, like, they seem to get a lot of, like, the value of what you sell correct, but the price of goods they often get very wrong. Like, a can of food being, like, over $1, I'm like, guys, come on. It wouldn't have cost that back then. Come on. Make it cheaper. The Muslim Brotherhood assassinated before he essentially... Yep. And what's funny is, like, you know, it's, like, even figures like MLK, they lied about the assassination of him, too. I mean, regardless of what you think of MLK, I think his assassination was a cover-up, too. As was JFK. Oh, yeah. No, a can of beans would be like, what? Yeah, exactly. It's like, it'd be like dirt freaking cheap. It's like, come on. Fine Art of Conversation. I think I've done that one. So, Goodbye Dear Friend, I believe, is next. We make absolutely sure. Yeah, it's like the prices they've got on this for like food cans are more in line with like today. JFK was three angry husbands acting independently. Yes, their initials, it's like, and their names started with the initials C, I, and A. My horse is even seeming like he's getting sick. I have to feed him so much more lately. Well, Bonius has the horse tuberculosis. I want to know one of the eerie things about that is, okay, so if you don't know this already, some of you all might know this, but the overseer of JFK's protection that day in Texas was a certain individual who, I'll put it the way Wendigoon put it, to avoid anybody watching who may have an eyeball on this. His name rhymed with Porge Gubbia, or Corge, Page Gubbia Hush was in charge of his protection. And when they asked him later, where were you on that day? He says, I don't remember. Even though he was in Texas that day. And obviously, being in charge, it's the most catastrophic failure of a president's protection detail ever. And so what happened? He got promoted to the highest position in that department. And then later, of course, an even higher one. As did his son. That's as cagily as I'll put it. It's like, and he's like, you don't have to like the people that we're talking about to know that, like, I'm not a JFK fan at all. I'm not a fan of JFK at all. But, some people in a particular 3-letter agency wanted him gone. We got a fire on the shore here. And that same organization, I think, wanted MLK out of the way.
You best get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You twitch on that,
I just casually killed this guy. I was just like, whatever. I wasn't even thinking much. I just walked up and was like, yeah, I'm in the mood to shoot. I haven't done a lot of shooting in this.
Should've just given it to me.
Here, let's hide him. Where can we hide him? Oh, look, water. Here, get in. Gator! Or maybe that's a snake that has a really hungry appetite. Get in. Chip away at him like little piranhas. Eat him up. Like little piranhas. Iron Mandarin, who had one hand on Marilyn Monroe and the other on a nuke button based. Jeez. You know what's funny is like, because when I first started to get like, to actually pay attention to politics, I mostly paid attention. I started by paying a lot of attention to the Daily Wire, which is funny saying that now because we look at them now very sideways. And I'll tell you, the first thing that started to make me look sideways was when old Shin Bapiro basically shilled the official story of the JFK assassination. I was like, what? you buy the official narrative of that? That was the first red flag for me for the Daily Wire, was that. I was like, wow. I was like, I was like, you just lost a lot of credibility, because is there a more obvious cover-up in U.S. history than that? That's an easy one. Yeah, but his sister's hot. His sister is good looking. It's true. Yeah, it was like, that sounds like it. Exactly. That's kind of the thought I had, Dave. It was just like, that's kind of a deep state sentiment. I was like, how can you believe that? And actually, that might have been the second. I'm trying to remember if I heard that first or his take on the Epstein thing, because he bought into the official narrative of that too, and I was just like, dude, for real? I want to say I heard those both, like, very close together.
You're one of them fellas from the riverboat, ain't you? Kill all those people, and for... Sorry, mister. I think you got me mixed up with someone.
No. I never forget a face. Never. You're spending your blood money.
Whatever you heard, it wasn't me. Honest.
Well, I thought he was going to go run to the law, but I guess not. Like, you devil!
Will you move? Where are you picking on me?
I remember him shilling the whole Vax thing, yeah. That was definitely another one. I do a whole series on the JFK, then his brother swore he would reopen the investigation, and went next. Yep. I knew what you meant, Israel. Shield.
There you are. Here I am. Come on.
Sadie's having some booze.
Why are you so riled up?
Today is a great day.
Gosh, it's already almost 6:30.
Going to hang Colm O'Driscoll.
That's so.
Animal abuse from the, yeah.
Oh, they're gonna hang him.
Yeah, and not before time.
That boy's been on the gallows more than most. I wouldn't count anything until his neck's broke.
Well, nor would I. Which is why, despite us being wanted men, we're gonna attend the event ourselves.
Do you think they tried to take out Reagan too? I'd have to look more into that. I guess because he didn't actually, get knocked off. I haven't looked. I haven't looked like too hard into that because obviously he made it through all that. But I'd have to look into it. Teddy lived past 80 because he stopped doing his own driving and openly accepted the Warren Commission report as the guilt of Saran. Yeah.
Well, don't we just look the part?
We'll cut through the alley to get to the gallows.
It's a fun little mission.
Weapons holstered. Our
It's time for Colm O'Driscoll to get his.
Mrs. Adler, might I say, being a fancy woman of Saint Denis suits you.
I agree.
I'll dress up like the Queen of Sheba and then sing that son of a bitch swing.
Colm hung me up, nearly butchered me. That don't mean I'm comfortable in this.
Ladies, if y'all ever decide to bring back this old-fashioned look, I'm on board. Aristocratic Utensil has done some good videos on Wall. She has. I agree. He has.
Poor boy Kieran, we've all lost something because of Colm. And that is why we will shepherd him to eternity.
I do think he clutched his pearls a little bit too much recently, but he did clarify his position more or less well enough recently. But yeah, I like Spoon. I still like Spoon.
Really? When you seem to lose it all so often now.
Our chief partner in the oil business was John Hinckley Sr. No one ever liked Walsh. I mean, I liked things about Walsh sometimes, but he's
Exactly. We'll get it done, all right.
he's like, I find him funny in certain respects, but his takes on media are embarrassing. Like, they're just embarrassingly bad. Like, I wouldn't say I never liked him, there's a quality to him I find somewhat amusing, but
Look here. Don't the
I always thought like what's the other one? Michael Knowles was like a more palatable version. And here's the thing, I still personality wise kind of like Michael Knowles. Like he still will like him and Clavin. Clavin will say some things I still agree with here and there, but I'm more just I hear them very sparingly because I don't watch the Daily Wire.
assholes. Sure. The Combs boys.
But yeah, Walsh just he has some of the most like I feel like Walsh just tries to insert himself into discussions that he just does not know squat about.
We gotta follow him and find out.
Yeah. Oh, here comes somebody.
And I think what happened with Brett Cooper was very, very sus. I mean, I'm not saying I necessarily buy it, because a lot of people have immediately tried to project what they think happened in that scenario. Like, I know Sydney Watson, like, did a video that I watched where she was, like, saying, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm like, you don't know that this stuff happened. You're guessing all this stuff. So, yeah, I was like, it's like, what are you basing this on? And it was just like, I think Sydney Watson is kind of dumb, personally. I appreciate that she's conservative in certain respects, but I'm like, I don't think she knows what she's talking about, like, 75% of the time, so it's just like, she makes me cringe a bit. But, I think the Cooper thing was probably a combination of things. Some of it probably... Yeah, but she's hot. Yeah, I mean, Sydney Watson is a good-looking girl. It's just, stop talking politics. You don't know what you're talking about. She just doesn't know what the heck she's talking about. I find a lot of the women who talk politics don't know what they're talking about. I think Candace Owens is often very cringe. Candace Owens, I don't, like, even when she says things I agree with, her shtick I just don't buy. I think she likes to latch on to kind of hot takes that she knows will get her attention, and that's her gig. Watson had some terrible relationship takes too. Oh, that absolutely. Like Tommy Lahren, I think's an idiot. It's like there's so many of them. I'm just like, why do you all keep talking? It's like, talk about something you know something about. This isn't for you.
Find a way up there, on one of these verandas, through a building maybe, and get them, and do it silently.
Well, obviously I'm gonna do it silently. I want to see this bastard swing.
People think,
Oh, Arthur, here's a ladder.
I mean, I think people immediately equate grifting with dishonest, and I definitely think she's dishonest.
Find a way up to the roof.
Like I said, I don't think like I said, I think Candace latches on to takes that she knows will get her attention. That's why she shifts to and fro constantly. It's like if you follow her career, it's one like it's like one area after the next that she, that she'll insert herself into that will contradict something that she used to say. It's like I don't buy her. I do not buy her. Like, the only thing she's done, like, I would say the one thing she did that was not only, like, a good take, but was substantive, was her exposing BLM. I think her exposure of BLM was well done. I would say that was well done. Good job. That's one of the few things that I think she's done to completion that she did a good job on. Though even some of her past would contradict some of that. Now, granted, it's like, people's past are people's past, but you can have a past that contradicts as long as you, acknowledge that, that you were wrong. But on the whole, I don't trust her at all.
justly
It's by savagery. Yeah, she's very abrasive. I think she tries to put on kind of almost a masculine front to her take sometimes when she gets all haughty and stuff. It's very cringe. It's very cringe.
and abused for a decade across 5 states, seemingly with impunity. Today, justice catches up with him.
As well you may. I've been
I
about
cannot
that,
think
man.
of
Silence!
abrasive for the
This
life
is
of
not
the
a
problem.
court where you shall be tried. This is a place where your sentence
It's
is
like a
to be carried out.
Scotch
And
break
your sentence,
excited sponge.
O'Driscoll, you are to be hanged by the
That's a
neck
that's a
until
good
you are
comparison.
dead.
I like
This is
that.
not a task we take lightly. It is not a task we enjoy. But it is a task we must carry out.
Holmes like, oh crap, I'm actually gonna hang. I thought I was getting out of it. Trump is pardoning the January 6th prisoners? Good.
Are we
Good.
ready? Call O'Driscoll. May God, in his infinite wisdom, have mercy upon your soul. Whenever you are ready.
Holmes thought he was getting out of this.
Now you know how it feels to watch somebody you love die. You ruined my life!
Oh, jeez. Oh, wait, that's Dutch.
Take a shot on these O'Driscolls.
It's like, stop following me. Hang on. Wait. Oh, wait. There we go. I was trying to shoot him down. I thought that'd be funny. Oh, nailed him. I agree. Victorian era fashion was dope. Suits and pretty dresses. I dig it. Probably not the best for certain weather, but you know, hey, if you're gonna go out, it's okay to look good, you know? Continental, yeah. Oh! Right in the leg. Because I hate rail.
Let's just get out of here.
Go.
I mean, look at that old fashioned. You got a lady like Sadie, who, you know, is pretty rough around the edges. Looks so lovely. Exactly. Cowboy fashion. It's all good. I mean, truth be told, even by like those standards back then, you could kind of be roughing it and still look pretty Chad. You know, it's still pretty dang cool. Though, truth be told, if you want, probably the person in this group who roughs it the most is Karen. Karen's just always like in the long skirt and the white undershirt.
We saw the bastard.
Really? I didn't know that.
No
Well,
ain't gonna say
not every era is perfect.
Guess that's one less thing to worry about.
But I guess we had so much, you know, leather back then that maybe that was just a natural result.
Como Driscoll didn't seem like such a
It's always been a thing.
A letter came for you.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I know it's from that man.
The gourd cat has invaded me in my space. Hello, Mozart.
Who is?
The cat wants to crawl up
My
here.
dear Arthur, you never showed up. And now, after looking at the newspapers, I understand why. I don't imagine you'll
Lead
receive
paint
this letter,
for
but
the
I
kids'
nonetheless
toys.
must send it.
Yeah, we can leave that.
Arthur. Oh, Arthur. I was just starting to dream the silliest and softest of dreams. I miss you.
No plastic dresses.
And I will always miss you. But I cannot live like that. And it seems you cannot live any other way. When I'm with you, the world makes sense.
It's
But
a good point, Jim.
apart,
It's a good point.
I see clearly that your world is not a world from which one can escape. I'm so sorry for everything. For everything long ago, and for starting up that business again. There's a good man within you, Arthur, but he is wrestling with a giant.
I want empires and conquest, exploration and glory. Bring back something more interesting than this dull modernity. Well, that's kind of why we need to take this step with space travel, because as far as exploration goes, we either need to figure that out or figure out how to traverse the seafloor. Although after watching the movie Underwater, that might make you think twice about that.
Because I care for it far too much, and it reminds me too much.
Wool is naturally flame retardant. Yeah.
One day,
absolutely,
you will find
Janet.
Some people in love who can use this. For it kept me thinking of you all these years, and I hope by returning.
I am not going into the ocean.
I can finally be free. Goodbye.
Ocean is ocean's a scary thing. No doubt about that. Great movie. Wait, what movie? What movie y'all talk? Oh, Underwater. Oh, bleh. I'm the one who brought it up. Derp. Yes, I agree. Underwater is really good and really underrated. I will probably do a Gourd Tier Tuesday about Underwater. I think very highly of that movie, and it's funny because it's one of those movies that very much went against my expectations of quality. Because I saw the trailer for it in theaters and thought, this will be dumb. It's a Kristen Stewart vehicle, sci-fi, it's going to be standard, goofy, nothing. And I walked away from that movie because, my brother saw it, which I don't even know what motivated him to see it. Because he saw the trailer at the same time I did, and we had more or less the same opinion of it. But for whatever reason, he decided to watch it. And he was like, you need to see this. This is actually really good. And I was like, well, okay, maybe I will at some point. And then eventually I did, but holy cow, that is a dang good movie. I was just going to say, a Del Toro I haven't seen, and then I read that last half of the comment. Now I am concerned. Which part? Wait, what? What now? I missed something. Was Underwater that Del Toro movie where a lady gucks a... No. Okay, that's the part I missed. No, that's The Shape of Water. That's The Shape of Water. That's the Guillermo del Toro film. And, yeah, that's a weird movie. That's a weird movie. It's one of those movies where you look at it as a whole and you're like, you could have kind of done this movie in a non-weird and pervy way, but you chose the pervy way. Why? Why'd you go that route? Of all routes, why did you go that way? I mean, because, it's sad because, the production value of The Shape of Water is amazing. It's an attractive film on pretty much every level. It's exceptionally well designed. Shape of Water won Best Picture. I think it won something like 7 Oscars, I think? I have to check. I'm pretty sure it won 7 Oscars. I know it won Best Picture. I know that for a fact. But yeah, it's because it's a very progressive message on when it's all said and done. Because The Shape of Water refers to the notion of love is like the shape of water; it can take any form, and that is a very progressive message, meaning it's a regressive message. Won 4 Oscars. Okay, not as many as I thought. I think it was nominated for 7 Oscars then. I think. But yeah, it won Best Director for Del Toro, Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Actress for Sally Hawkins. It was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Richard Jenkins. Nominated for supporting actress, Octavia Spencer. I don't know why she got nominated. There was nothing special about her performance. Best music. I'm kind of fine with that. I actually think the music was really good in that movie. Nominated for screenplay, nominated for cinematography. Actually got more than 7 nominations. Costume design nominee, sound editing, sound mixing, film editing, all nominations, and it won production design, which I would agree with. The production design and the musical score, it deserve both of those. Yeah. Drilling Oceans Up, New Year, A Creature Awakens. And so I think, I'll be honest, Dave, I think you gave too much away. I wouldn't have told her that much. Water is gender fluid. Exactly. Yeah, Shape of Water is all about a woman meeting a fish monster, and she drinks the gender fluid. She kind of actually drinks the species fluid. Because, like, I would say this, some of the ickiness of The Shape of Water is alleviated by how the movie ends. You're fine, Dave. I'm more just poking fun at you a little bit. But, some of the ickiness of The Shape of Water is alleviated at the end because she basically turns into a female version of his species. So it's very heavy fantasy, like kind of a Little Mermaid, like because Shape of Water is kind of a reverse Little Mermaid story. That's what it is. It's basically the Little Mermaid in reverse. But the fact remains that she hooks up with the fish man before she becomes a fish woman. So it's still icky. It's still icky. It's like, you could have done this story to where it wasn't too bad, but no, they didn't do that. It's like, Guillermo, you did such a good job with Pan's Labyrinth.
Arthur.
I was a big fan of the Hellboys and the Labyrinth.
So, how you keeping out here?
The Hellboys.
So it's all right then.
I don't recall the Hellboys. I'm not sure I know what that is. And the Labyrinth, you referring to the David Bowie movie? Or...
Yeah, I saw it with Civilization.
Oh, Hellboy. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Hellboy movies are really good.
Progress, well.
I should have I'll be honest, I should have discerned that. I was a big fan of the Hellboy, so that you meant the Hellboy movies. Right, yeah. That's my bad. That's my bad. I should have discerned that from us talking about Guillermo del Toro. That is my bad. Yeah, I like the 2 Hellboy movies, especially the second one. The second one is really good. And Pan's Labyrinth, I think, is brilliant. I love Pan's Labyrinth.
What's that?
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Look at the size of that.
Holy moly.
Holy hell.
Second one is my favorite. Yeah, second Hellboy is definitely better. First Hellboy is good. Second Hellboy is, like, really good. That's not... What kind of technique is that? I agree, Waylon. I would have loved to have seen his take on The Hobbit. What a missed opportunity that was. And yeah, the cinematography for Pan's Labyrinth is so good. Don't be afraid. It was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which was an adaptation of an old book, well, not an old book, but I think he produced that. I don't know if he directed that. But I've heard a lot of the stuff is very much in line with it. I mean, he might have directed it, but I don't know for sure. I haven't seen that movie yet. I know the book. I've read the book. That was that's the oldest Scary Story oldest scary book that I ever. I'm slightly curious about this new horror, The Wolfman. Israel, I've heard it's like disastrously bad. I've heard the Wolfman movie's horrible. I know Nadia, she has actually been sitting on she got to see it very early, like months ago. she's been sitting on that information for a while because she was like, I can't say anything particular, like specific about what I think of it. Like she wasn't allowed to do a review because of an embargo, but she's known for a while about it. She saw it a long time ago, and she was just like, "Don't see it. It's horrible." And I was like, "Okay." And some of the stuff I've seen about it looks stupid. But yeah, I've heard it's quite terrible. Don't be afraid of the dark. It is amazing. Okay, cool. Have we ever had a good Wolfman movie? I mean, the old one. I like the old one a lot. I think the OG Wolfman is actually one of the better old school horror films. Lance, what's going on? How you doing, Lance? Good to see you. I saw your message when you were doing your show Thursday, like the next, like late the next day, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, Thursdays for me are just like, they're hard for me to do anything other than just, like, I occasionally will do a stream, but I have to plan it like way in advance. Because if I do a show or anything on a Thursday, generally that's going to cut into my sleep because I have to wake up really early the next day. But, yeah. Have you read the OG Frankenstein book? I haven't. I need to, because I've heard it's really good. I appreciate that, Lance. I appreciate that thought. Uh-oh. I think I let the boar escape. I'll tell you this, my cat is literally standing to the left of my television, and I can't see the radar. Mozart, hang on, I gotta take care of this. Little goober. Okay.
He's been up this hill to the right and down this one in front of us. But I can't tell which tracks is fresher. Let's split up. You go up, and I'll go onwards.
Okay. Good luck to you.
Yeah. I like the Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance and his father's acting. It's one of my favorite movies. Interesting. I've never heard of that movie, I don't think. The Penalty? I'll have to look into that. Usually when I hear penalty, I think of that part in Amadeus, where Mozart's like, but my penalty! I need a penalty! Oh, I don't mind Silent. I actually watched, I watched the original Nosferatu the evening before I saw the OG, or I watched the silent OG Nosferatu the day before I saw the new one. It's rough. I mean, the original Nosferatu is pretty rough. I'll tell you, my favorite silent movie is definitely City Lights. If you haven't seen City Lights, whether you're a silent movie fan or not, watch City Lights. It's so good. It's so charming.
Damn it.
Gosh diddly darn it. This music kind of reminds me of something like out of Justified, which is always good. Uh-oh. And The Invisible Man. I have not read it. I've seen it. I like The Invisible Man movie. I actually think that's, like, it has issues, but it's pretty good. I think, Jacob, you did a stream on The Invisible Man, did you not? I'm pretty sure you did a stream on that one. I know you've done a lot of the monster movies, maybe even all of them. I know I was on the Dracula one. How do you get on with the book? I really like it so far. I'm not, like, super duper far into it, just because I've been, like, kind of, like, really busy lately since I started my own live show, and I've had a bunch of shows I've been doing prep work for, but I have been I've been just slowly working my way through it. I'll tell you this also, I underestimated, like, the ease of, because I've been doing audiobooks for, like, the last, like, 2 years. it had been a little while since I'd picked up an actual paper book. I've been doing so many audiobooks lately. So reading a book the normal way, I was like, oh no, I'm sadly out of practice with most like regular reading other than like the Bible. But I really like it so far, Lance.
Take a bill for me, would you?
I like the Chevy Chase Invisible Man, but the Kevin Bacon one is great too. Yeah, Hollow Man, yeah. Hollow Man definitely tried to add the campy, sexy factor to it. Which, I mean, on the one hand, I get the point, because let's be real, especially in the modern day, if a guy has the power to go invisible, I don't even know how much of that statement, Lance, was intended to be funny, but I find that statement very clever and funny. Yeah, that was definitely a Warthog Maximus, absolutely. Would it be in bad taste if I searched the saddlebag of this poor horse? I think it would be. I'm just gonna say, you know what? Oh, his name's Buell. Flee, Buell. You're free. Or you know what? Whatever. Stay with your guy. Should I loot him? I don't think I can. Okay. That is a flippin' huge. Look at this thing. My gosh. It's like a small buffalo. Oh my goodness. That's a big piece of ham right there. That is ham. Mrs. Sadie, widow. That is the next one. Alan Moore's take on the Invisible Man, that he was a psychopath, rapist. I mean, that was kind of part of the original, wasn't it? Or am I wrong? I mean, at least didn't the movie semi-imply that? I mean, obviously, when it came out, you obviously couldn't go too explicit with that, but weren't they sort of implying that? I know in Hollow Man, they definitely did. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, that's an added element by Alan Moore, because Alan Moore's just like that. I'm not a big Alan Moore fan, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Alan Moore is one of the most overrated of the comic writers, but I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's a little too message heavy with some of his stuff. Maybe even all of it. I haven't read all of it, but what I've read of his, I think, is often very message heavy. And often the best elements of his work are things he doesn't intend to be the best elements of his work. For an example, see Rorschach.
Get away from me now!
Uh-oh. We gotta help this. Yeah, what he said. Holy crap, he's still alive. Oh my gosh. That thing is near bulletproof. He's an idiot who doesn't understand archetypes. The creepy part, not as much. Okay. You're welcome, I see. Good movies. I was recommended Godzilla -1. Oh, absolutely. Godzilla -1 is awesome. I mean, look. Some of the excitement about Godzilla -1 does tend to cloud some people's vision on some of them. The movie does have some very obvious flaws. It does. And because it's so entertaining and was such a great theatrical experience, it does tend to cloud some people's vision against some of the flaws, but it doesn't change that it's still an awesome movie. It's one of the better theatrical experiences I've had in the last like 5 years. Like it's well, okay, it's not even just the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is because it's not a mere imperfection. There is an element that comes along in the story that is very clearly convenient and not very like it's highly unbelievable. It's highly unbelievable, and it's done to be it's very clearly done to be overly sentimental. And it's one of those things where you're just like, I don't think y'all justified that well at all. It's a little too convenient. It's a big flaw. I would call it a big problem, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it is still an awesome movie. All right, Dave, I appreciate you joining. You have yourself a good one.
She betrayed us. You don't know that. She told us she was in love. She would have said anything. Who knows what she did or didn't do? She had to go. It's bad, but Tilly, I do believe you got a cold heart. Now you know that ain't true.
This is interesting.
Of course it ain't, but I'm scared. Me too.
Hey, big man.
And of course,
Worried. Really worried.
oh wow, Uncle's being a little real here, even though he's drunk.
What's gonna happen, you know? To everybody. Yes. Folks is gonna make a choice.
But yeah, I definitely recommend Godzilla -1. It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Like I'm not a Godzilla purist, so I couldn't tell you what a hardcore Godzilla fan would call their favorite Godzilla movie. I know a lot of them are really high on like Shin Godzilla. I know that's a huge favorite amongst big, Godzilla fans. But for me, who's very much a Godzilla casual, -1 is easily the most fun. Easily the most fun that I've ever had with a Godzilla movie. Like, not even close. Now, granted, I haven't seen Shin Godzilla, so, but I loved -1. It was so much fun. The Philadelphia mayor had trouble spelling eagles. Gosh. I'm curious. Israel, look this up. Look this up. Look up the mayor by name and see if he's actually from there. Because like that actually makes me wonder if he's a transplant mayor.
Mrs. Adler.
Look at her just knife throwing and stuff. That's kind of hot.
You okay?
I'm gonna make people think I have some kind of tough girl preference with women, and I would just say not inherently. But it's not a bad thing necessarily. It's not a bad thing necessarily. As long as it, is within the realm of what a lady is capable of. I don't mind it totally.
Do what?
Finish off them O'Driscolls. I hear the last of them is holed up at Hanging Dog Ranch.
I don't have it in me no more. I saw Colm swing. I just don't care.
I was a married woman. You know what they did to me. And to my husband?
Wow, that's sad, Israel. Well, okay. She? Okay. Be wary of a woman that throws a knife, especially from the kitchen to couch distance. Hey, what you gotta do, this is how you check that. You make sure she's a good cook first. Because if she can cook and throw a knife, it's be like, well, at least I know I'm gonna like her cooking, so the threat is greatly reduced.
What do you mean?
No, Israel, I'm saying it being a lady tells me that in all likelihood, the reason she had problem with the Eagles chant is because she's probably not an actual sports fan. And I know women, and I'm not saying women can't be sports fans. I'm just saying, look at the demographics of sports and their fans.
You wanna ride with me?
chances are she's probably not a real fan.
Thanks, Arthur.
Okay, come on.
That told me everything. It's like when you said it's a she, and I was like, oh, okay, she probably just doesn't watch sports then. She was just trying it, because my mom sometimes, who's not at all a sports fan, she knew that me, my dad, and at times my older sister, we like to talk sports, we like to watch sports. And it was so funny if you could see the difference between her and like my older sister, because my older sister, when she would get into sports, she would legitimately get into it. She would know her stuff. Whereas when my mom would do it, it would be extremely awkward. It would be very forced. If you're not a fan, you can't pretend.
Hey.
You can tell when someone's a real fan of something. But if you can't spell eagle, you're just retarded. Well, here's the thing. When you're doing when you're doing a chant, I mean, granted, it's very possible she's just bad at spelling. That's also possible. But when it comes to a chant, chants are very, they're playing on your memory and routine. If you're a true blue Eagles fan, you know that chant. You know that chant. That's an easy one. If you're a Jets fan, Jets, Jets, that's an easy one. You hear it enough times, you chant it enough times, you're a part of it. You know. That just gets ingrained in your head. If she can't do that chant right, I don't necessarily think it's because she can't spell Eagles. I think she's just not used to doing that chant, 'cause she's probably not an actual football fan. She became mayor. She knows it's a big part of their culture, and obviously the Eagles just won a playoff game, so she's trying. It's like the Hillary Clinton thing where the Pokemon go to the polls thing. It's that kind of stuff where you're taking an aspect of the culture and you're trying to win people over. Like, see? Hello, fellow kids. I'm something of a sports myself. She's just immediately like, I don't even think she lit that thing. Oh, he was already dead. Okay, right away, this music is very 310 to Yuma. Oh my gosh! I'm loving the election outrage. I imagine it's fun. Time to use some of my might. My dynamite! Yeah, I've heard good things about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I'd be willing to check that out. I'll tell you why he probably wrote that one well, is because the characters are more or less fleshed out for him. He just has to maybe spin them a certain way, but for the most part, they're conceptually not his own. Just so you all know, this is probably the last mission I'm gonna do, because we've been at this about 3 hours now. Sadie's so funny because she sounds like a chain smoker, but I don't know if she actually smokes in this game. Gotcha. I think the dynamite worked. Alright. I'm like, I was just watching him, like, does this guy know I'm watching him, right? It's like, is he gonna try to sneak while I'm looking at him? Stop it. Get my hat back. I don't even think this is my hat. Nope, definitely not, but that's fine. Well, okay, that's a little... I'll say this, if there is one glaring flaw at times with this game is there are some very tismy moments in the controls. Me and Tur had a dark realization that Anne Hathaway is a better actress than Zendaya. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have the Zendaya hate that most people have. It's just she's the Pedro Pascal of actresses right now. They are putting her in everything, whether she fits the role or not. I think she can act in the right parts, but cool. Sadie. Oh my goodness.
You okay?
Okay, maybe I shouldn't have picked that hat up. This is not helping the moment. That hat. Look at that hat. No Way Home is actually some of her best acting. I agree.
We was always sweet on one another.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I miss him every day, every moment.
This hat is not helping this moment.
But my memories of him, they still pure.
I ain't even got that.
This hat is not helping.
Aside from my Jake, you're the best man I've known.
I know the company you keep. The competition ain't too fierce. We should get away from here.
I just think it's adding an element of unintentional comedy to this part. Because it's actually, I very much like this scene. It's appropriately tragic. It's moving in its way. It's a well done scene. I like it, but it's like that hat. It's so big. It's such a big hat. It's a very Bloodborne-like hat. But she got more Sadie. Yeah, like I would have liked more, at least more moments like that. But I like what they do with her for the most part. Yeah. I mean, I think they shore it up a good amount in the epilogue. Yeah, I like Sadie a lot. Sadie is a cool character. You know, if you want to argue that maybe like they make her a little too tough, like she's a little too good at killing, I can see I'm like, yeah, there's a bit of that, but for the most part, I think she's very well written. Yeah, we definitely don't get scenes like this one here, but at the same time, though, I think leaving an audience wanting more is a lot better than overdoing it. So, you know, you definitely could have added more, but I'm happy for them to have leaving me wanting more as an issue rather than, you know, overdoing stuff. So, I'm fine with it. So, did I leave a gun behind or something? What's this gun indicator here? What is this? That's my Litchfield repeater. That's my repeater. I guess I could have grabbed it. Uh-oh. They're investigating. I better ride on out. Yeah. I think one other thing. Isn't that great at killing? Is both John. Oh, she's definitely not Arthur or John. Oh gosh, they oh, on the move. Ooh, right in your noggin. Run away! Alright, we're gonna get out of here. Try to avoid the law. But yeah, then we will be done for the day. Like I said, tomorrow I'm gonna after this I'm gonna be putting together Gore Tier Tuesdays episode for tomorrow. But if for whatever reason I am unable to get that show fully prepped, we'll do another Red Dead stream. So either which way, you will see me tomorrow. But I really appreciate you all hanging out. I had a really good time chatting with all of you all, as always. I always like streams like this. I mean, I don't like doing that where I retardedly run my poor horse. It's borderline abusive how bad I am at riding him sometimes. I'm sorry, Wombonius. I don't mean to ride with the blinders on. But yeah, anyway, now that we're free of that, appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I will see you all again tomorrow. So until then, good night, God bless, and Godspeed.